Now just hitting the button. And now we're live.
Hello, everyone.
Hey everyone. We've got Ichabod, Roberta, Kelly, Valerie.
We got Third Eye.
Sinead's in the house. John.
Janie's here too. Wow.
Yeah, now just button.
Hi, Val.
Hi,
Angelica.
Jeanie.
And now we're live.
Oh.
Actually, pause it. Just pause it.
Did it.
Pause it.
How do you do? How do you do?
If you don't, we'll just. Yeah.
Thank y'all for joining
Everybody's
us
here.
tonight. Should be an exciting show. Wow, so many beautiful people on the chat. Y'all are wonderful.
Yeah, thank you all. Wow. Hi, Mom and Dad. Oh, that's my daughter.
Hello, Sinead and Dante. We love you.
Coach Kathy. Aw.
Coach Kathy.
I could probably use some coaching.
That's flat out cool.
Nice.
Rita, Danny, Anna, Carmen, Wakey, Regina, Kelly.
Oh, Tony's in the house too. Hey, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Kazri.
Debbie.
Tony Wheel?
Yeah.
Tony. Love you, Tony. Oh,
Glenda,
Tonya.
Mona. Wow, we got lots of peeps in here. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Yeah. Incredible family. Just incredible family. Marisol. Marisol.
Hey, Nikki.
Mother and the Father, Marisol, Mother and the Father. What a balanced, perfect name.
Yvonne.
Shadow of a Baseman, such a great book. I'm gonna find time to read it. Colleen read the first part to
Me
me.
too.
Wow, so well written, so informative,
Yep.
very creative.
Can't
Yeah.
wait to finish it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate the large font too. It's nice to see.
Yes, it is. It is. I enjoy it. The Gold Coast. Are we talking Australia?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Hi, Bill.
It's in the morning there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get this party started.
Yeah.
Ichabod says Charlie Ward's here crying in the background.
What did Ichabod say? Johnny Ward is here crying in the background. I don't think he has any tear duct glands left.
Yeah, not in one eye for sure.
Shouldn't be laughing. That's terrible. But it was funny.
Kazri asked where I am. So I'm in just north of Houston in Texas. Staying with my aunt and uncle, who are just wonderful people.
Graciously, and everything's large in Texas. I've heard that. Is that true?
Yeah, it does seem like things are a little bigger here. I ate some avocados today and they were pretty
Large.
massive, which I was pretty excited about. I love avocados.
I was up till 4 something this morning, getting everything done, getting everything prepped for the Michael Jackson show as well. And
Gonna be good.
and I was just saying to Colleen, in terms of how I ended up narrowing it down to just 5 songs, and then the order and the theme was, if that wasn't God sent, I don't know what was. That was nothing short of a miracle. It was beautiful. It was really beautiful. I had tears in my eyes, putting it together. So it's going to be a heck of a show on Monday.
Michael's
So,
amazing. So
yeah, really is.
I can't wait. I've been waiting for this for weeks. Michael. And then Prince. I mean, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, Valerie, I love the paintings too. My aunt's got really good taste. Colleen was just noticing those beforehand. Lots of good colors. She's got lots of cool paintings all over the house. Yeah, Stacy, I will tell her that. Yeah, Texas is fun. I was just commenting that at least this week it's cooler than I would like, which is, came to get some warmth. So it just keeps pushing me to keep heading south to Mexico. But I sent my passport off to get that renewed. So just waiting to get that back, and then I'm hopping on over.
That's wonderful. And just to let everyone know today, wow, was it ever hot here today? Wow. And then late in the afternoon, not a cloud in the sky, but late in the day, a little while ago, a wind kicked up. And when it's like 110, 115 and a wind starts, that's a hot wind. And it's kind of stifles. So it's not normally this hot. So the first thing that came out of Colleen's mouth was, yeah, when's this ice age coming that they keep talking about? Because it'd be nice right about now, a little ice age.
Except a little further north, everybody's saying no. Justin's like, no, I want some heat. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Crazy hot here today.
we just need the symbiosis. You need to send some up here. We can send some of the cool breeze down there. Meet in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And
hi,
so
Tom, we love you.
yeah, Earth Song is definitely JC. Earth Song is definitely part of the five. But boy, was it. And then everything I just let go, and everything just fell together, including the order and the theme and everything. It's just so yeah, godsend, and it's going to be an incredible show. Just like tonight's show is going to be incredible. I've got stuff wow, yeah. Yeah, gonna blow you away. Very cool, very powerful. Great to know the truth. We're not alone at all. A lot of good people who care were there before us, and we're walking on
And are
the
here
shoulders
now,
of giants.
and will be in our future. So we're not alone. So many beautiful people. I mean, just look at the chat right now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're all vampire hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, really quickly on, I put it up on MeWe today, but on his, what's that program called again? Telegram. On Telegram, Ghost Ezra put up a couple of really good things. One thing he put up was just saying how is free energy possible here on Earth? And he's going, of course it is. The Earth is a magnet. So the Earth is a magnet. So yeah, you're going to get nothing but free energy. And he said when you see how simple it all works, he said you'll be really blown away as well. Or maybe I said that, I can't remember, but one of us said that. And and then he put a little video on there, and it's just incredible. So he just had copper wire in a coil, and and that was like on a raised bar. On one end, just raised about 3 inches off the ground, was a spiral of copper wire, and then on the other side was a wheel. And then all this person did is they moved a donut-shaped magnet underneath the copper wire, and the wheel at the other end. And then what you just need to know is that once you do that, you can get busy in your life for like say 37 million years and come back to it, and it'll still be working. You don't need to dust it. You don't need to, any maintenance to it whatsoever.
Build it with good products, of course. Not plastic.
It's magnetism. I mean, it's magnet. That's what magnetism is. It's a scalar wave. It just goes. So it's just so simple. It's so simple, and it is so easy. So yeah, just it's all coming. It's great.
Yeah, and just below that one, there was another video on how to make an easy phone charger using similar kind of stuff. Just these donut magnets, and You just the guy did it with a glue gun, copper wire, and a phone charger, and then the two little donut magnets, and you can just make a phone charger.
Wow, and that was that episode. I think that was episode 111 on MacGyver when he took down the Illuminati. That was a great episode. MacGyver takes down the Illuminati with the glue gun, two magnet. It was a good
And the
episode.
chewing gum.
Nice.
It's so simple.
All
Yeah.
right. Ready to roll?
To- chomping, chomping. So what I thought Justin probably doesn't. We just didn't have a lot of time today. So, but just to give everyone a quick heads up, what we're going to do is we're going to dive right into the movie first, and I want Justin to jump in on each of these points. And it doesn't have to, but whenever Justin wants to jump in, I want him to jump in on it as well. And then we're just going to go through the movie. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make the case for tying in these four figures and how they're all tied in, which is great because it's going to bring in the Kevin Costner movie, The Postman, into all of this. You'll like that as well as another column there that ties directly into Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, and what's going on. And then I've got some deeper thing. And then really the ending of the show is going to be all about silver. Oh, this is cool stuff. Really cool stuff. And it's all been hidden from us. And you know why. 30 pieces of silver they gave to Judas to betray Jesus. And in that moment, God intervened. God intervened. And it's going to be amazing. So, Justin, let's go. Take it away. Say what you need to say.
Uh, well, yeah, it's gonna be an exciting show. I hope everyone or most of y'all have watched the Vampire Hunter, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter movie, because that's what we're gonna be starting with, is going over that one. And The Postman is also a fantastic movie too. Both of those are on the link tree to download, if you still haven't watched them and like to. Um,
So if you're just watching this and we've already been live, you can watch the movie first and then come back and watch this.
yeah.
Beautiful call. It would be better. It would be better that way. Yeah. And it's so funny with the Postman. That's like the Postman is like the story of Colleen and I and Justin this year. You know, hopium salespeople. Um, yeah, that was so cool. It was literally watching that plot play itself out. It was like, hey, wait a minute, that's been us. So it's kind of cool, very very cool, very grassroots, very beautiful, and it ties into the show tonight too. So it's gonna be great.
So we're pretty sure, almost 100% sure that Kevin Costner is a good guy. Jacqueline just asked.
I am. I've zero doubts, and I've taken that a step further as well. I think
Maybe he's even related to the good guys.
if we have time tonight, we'll get into a little bit of it. But there are some bloodlines that have been kept very pure and very protected on this earth. And and of course, blood only goes so far. It's everything is epigenetics. So these are families that are vampire hunters, servants of God, and it ties into all of this. And so you'd be surprised at why certain children in certain families look different, look different from, let's say, the other children or the parents, but they're in these famous families and they play major roles or big roles. There's kind of a reason to all of that. So yeah, there's a group that trains to sort of lead the righteous way. And yeah, okay, let's go. Want me to go?
Yeah, please.
Okay, here we go.
That's all I've got to say. I'm just ready to get into it.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay, so Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Wow, and the comms come fast. They come heavy, and they go right to the very very end, which is going to be fun to talk about as well. But um, there is a quote that's posted at the very beginning of the movie, just as it fades in, and it says, "Your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations," and that, of course, is from Genesis 17:5, and Abra is Hebrew for father, and essentially it's like father of tribe or tribes, and Abraham, and that's with the breath of God. So Abraham Lincoln, um, the name is foreshadowed to him, and his sort of lineage and stuff ties in because there's some oddities to it, and then when you look at Abraham Lincoln, he didn't really look like the rest of his family. And you know, when you look at Lincoln, it's almost like he had some different races in him, and a different skin texture and color, and more olive, and very very interesting stuff with Abraham Lincoln. So just keep that in mind.
He does have very interesting looks,
He
doesn't
has
he?
very very interesting looks. You can see a lot of African in it. I see a lot of Middle Eastern, and that's kind of where a lot of this leads. But so that starts it off, and so what is being foreshadowed here is that Lincoln was doing this, and the movie shows this for much more than just to set things aright in the United States, and that this age old war, that is the battle between good and evil. So let me just start with that and make this very very clear. Q talked about from the very beginning that this is bigger than you can possibly know, and that this is biblical. So essentially, what we're talking about, and by the way, in the movie, remember, the main the main vampire is Adam, and Adam makes it clear he's been around forever. He talks eternally, which I'm going to talk about as well. I've kind of steered clear of this trying to take heaven by force and longer life, because the minions, they don't do it properly, and they make a mess of things, and they die horrifically. But we're going to get in a little later in the show about this process, and about the possibility of very long life for these demons through this process. So his name is Adam, to point out to you that we have a hound dog cat. To point out to you that this is very biblical, and it goes right back to the beginning of all things, because the first creation that we know of is Adam and Eve, and then the children of Adam and Eve, the first two children of Adam and Eve, are Cain and Abel. And in the story, you know that Cain killed Abel, and then Colleen and I came along and said, boy, Cain didn't just kill Abel, he ate Abel. Cain ate Abel. Cannibal is Cain ate Abel, and there's the birth of vampires. This is a big, this is it. And this is what we've been fighting from the beginning, and nobody wants to talk about it. We're going to get into that in just a sec, about what Lincoln said at the beginning of the movie. You know, history remembers battles, but it doesn't remember the blood, and we should be remembering the blood. And it's for them, it's all about blood. And so in the movie, why would they call the first ever vampire, which is what it's Cain, but they didn't say Cain because that would be, I think, too controversial, and it would also kind of point the direction of who's sort of behind this, I think, too far. So basically, by keeping the name Cain, then what is being said here is essentially left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain. So then this is by keeping the name Adam, then it's left brain, right brain. So then the left brain would be called Cain, and then the right brain would be called Abel. So you're essentially looking at sort of Cain and Abel, because Adam the vampire is Cain and Abraham Lincoln is Abel. Yeah.
Good old
Yeah.
Abe.
Good old Abe, of that incredible bloodlines. So remember the 42, the miracle of the 42 are the three pure bloodlines, and that's from Abraham to King David, from King David to, the carrying away of Babylon, and then from the carrying away of Babylon to Jesus Christ. That is 314s, which is the magical 42. Which we're going to get hot and heavy into the book of Revelation this week, because 1260 and 42 start appearing everywhere in Revelation, and it's really, really key. So, so that's what's being said. I just want to make that really, really clear. If you didn't pick that up, that's what's being said. So Adam is Cain, Abraham Lincoln is Abel, and this is what keeps happening in history: is that various people come to the forefront and lead this struggle between ultimate good and ultimate evil. And the ultimate evil are these people who are trying to take heaven by force, and who are the demons, and these are the Canaanites. So I want to start with that. So Abraham, they're making the tie-in at the beginning of the movie. They're making the tie-in that Abraham Lincoln is like Abraham in Genesis, and then that takes us old beginning of the story, Old Testament, and then we meet Adam the vampire, who says he's been around forever, and there you have it. So essentially in the movie, what they're showing you is that this is biblical proportions. It's bigger than you could possibly know. That at any moment, the vampires run the risk of invading and bursting through the dam, and then they take over, and it's hell on earth because of the strength that they have by doing this process. So, wow. Big start. And Marie just came in, so let's take a little pause and just welcome Marie to the show, and let Marie say a few words.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Thanks for having me. Can you hear me? I'm putting my headphones for the first time. I'm in a room. The kids are around. So I'm just here to listen and share love. And I'm super excited about this conversation. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I'm
glad
just
you could be
popping in.
here.
Yeah, we flew most of the day and just had such an amazing time with Kira, you guys. It's better. It's better than we think it is. It's so much better than we think it is when we're all together. I'm really emotional. It was beautiful, really, really beautiful. So I'm just here to, revel in our family, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. I just feel so now more than ever, yeah, we'll get into it, but I'm super grateful to be here. Thanks for having me. Kira's amazing.
Love
That's
you,
amazing.
Kira.
Love you, Kira.
Love you,
so
Kira.
much.
She's amazing. She's a gangster of love. Some people call me Maurice. Woo, woo. Oh, she busted out and I'll tell you stories later. I don't want to interrupt the show. I'm just really happy to be here. Thanks for having me, you guys. I'm going to try and be as present as possible. And if I skip out, I'll just like that, because I have Ninos over there.
Well, that's a great song by Steve Miller to bring up, because I'm the inner space cowboy. So,
Yes, you are.
it works really well. Okay, so we talked about that quote. It really foreshadows what's being said. Adam, and this is biblical. So this is what's going on in the world. This is what's going on in the world, and it has come to the forefront again. And when you really, really look at this from Lincoln to Trump, it's not a great deal of time, my friends. It is not a great deal of time. So they attempted to penetrate the membrane of righteousness and goodliness and godliness, and now they were coming in for the kill. These are the vampires coming in for the kill. So this movie is bigger and more truthful and powerful and important than I think a lot of people could possibly know. It's how you know it was done by the White Hats somehow, some way. It was done by the White Hats because the cabal would never have commissioned this movie, would never have given away the stuff that was being given away, because it's not just some fanciful Hollywood screen. It's all based in absolute truth. It is. It's all based on holistic, absolute truth. It ties into everything. So it's really, really big. Okay, now the first scene in the movie. First scene, we get this beautiful panned image of DC, and to our left, which would then be, to the right, facing towards the swamp, which DC is built on a swamp. You see the Washington Monument. So this giant penis sticking up out of the ground, and then in the center you see the White House. No, in this first shot, that's right. So in the first shot here you see the Washington Monument, but in the middle you see the Capitol building. And it kind of allows you to be able to see to the little wider entrance in the center. And when you walk into that facility, what do you see? There's a larger-than-life statue of Abraham Lincoln in his great and mighty chair. Lincoln, and it's an incredible creation. It really is. And it's also a nod, a tip of the cap, both in the movie and historically, that Lincoln was larger than life, right? But the history man won't allow you, and then that's going to take us to the next step of the movie where Lincoln talks about history and how history is written. And so this is paying homage. This is paying homage to the fact that Lincoln is larger than life, and that's why we really don't know a lot about him for that powerful reason. So just wanted to say that there's a lot going on in those scenes. And so what you see is this one man who made himself larger than life battling against the Washington Monument. And there they were in that first scene, in that first shot, a man.
One's alive and one's dead.
Yeah, and the stuff that's said at the end, and wow, they just make it so clear. And then that's actually Lincoln's speech after the war, and talking about the living and not the dead, and wow. Okay, so that's another big calm. And then Lincoln says, history prefers legends to the myth. Nobility to brutality, soaring speeches to quiet deeds. History remembers the battle and forgets the blood. Whatever history remembers of me, I love that. Whatever history remembers of me, so he's writing this after he's accomplished what he's accomplished, knowing full well who writes the history books. He said, that it shall only be a fraction of the truth. And that was on April 14th of 1865. And we just passed April 14th. I when I was going over this last week, I thought maybe might get something out of it. But I shall always think of myself who struggled against the darkness. We have no idea. And of course, it's metaphorical, it's allegorical, yes, but it's literal as well. And of course, he's talking about himself, all of us. This is that incredible battle between left brain, right brain within each of us. And then this is the biblical battle between Cain and Abel. And we are of the bloodline of Abel. Don't ever doubt that. We do. We go back to Abel, and there is a small group that goes back to Cain. And remember, it's important that I bring this up again. I know I've said this before, but I'll reiterate it. When the reason that God cast Cain east of Eden, out of the Holy Land, is because after murdering and then drinking the blood of, cannibalistically drinking the blood of his own brother Abel, the plan that Cain had was to murder Adam, his father, and then subjugate Eve, the mother, into becoming the first whore of Babylon, and that she would then give constant birth to this his bloodline, because God had chosen Abel to be the chosen bloodline, the chosen ones. So you're all the chosen ones, not this fake crap that's going on in fake Israel today. And again, nothing against the beautiful souls that have been lied to, as we all have, their entire lives. But those of us that have remained loyal to righteousness, to God, to virtue, we are all of the bloodline of Abel.
And when we learn
We're
the
the chosen
truth,
ones.
when we learn the truth, when we know better, we then have a choice to do better. So, we have no excuse. Once we know better, we have no excuse. We have to do better. So anybody that's been lied to and then discovers the truth, it's time to just do the right thing. So cast your net to the right at that point. That's all we all ask. You just have to do better when you know better. So we've all been lied to our entire lives. There's no doubt about it. And we hold no judgment for anybody. But there's a right and a wrong. And
Yeah.
it's time to do the right thing.
That's right. That's right. And that's beautiful, because then that takes us into the very first sort of action scene in the movie. So now we go back to Abraham Lincoln's childhood, and he and his friend are interacting on the wharf, and then suddenly some slaves that are not slaves, they're free men, and they're being taken away to be used as slaves. And so there is a ruckus going on, and when his little friend, who just happens to be black, is then attacked by these demons, then what does Abraham Lincoln do? He turns around. His father says, "Abraham, look away," and Abraham turns around with a hatchet. With a hatchet in his hand, and just goes running full force and that's what we do. It's what we do. It's what we children of Abel would do. It's damn the torpedoes, man, full steam ahead. We have to do what's right. We have to do what's right. And that's what Abraham Lincoln did. And so it's an allegory, it's literal, and it's really, really beautiful. And it foreshadows how we have to do this, because another great thing about the movie is what the movie does is it shows you how overwhelming this is. If you stop to sort of think about this, it's like, how are we ever going to defeat them? And they kept making the point in the movie, there's so many of us, there's so many of us, there's so many of us. And then it just gets to a point where it's like, how are we going to, and Lincoln was struggling with that through the movie, and especially when the Civil War began, and seeing the flower of the United States being murdered, then it was very, very difficult. But we have to rise up. We have to rise up, and we have to stand up for what is right. We have to do what is right. When you know better, do better. And that is powerfully being said there. So, yes. And when Adam, the vampire, comes up and is dealing with, now, who is the first vampire? Justin, do you remember? And anyone in the chat room can ring out as well. Who's the first vampire that killed Abraham's mother? And he's the one who had the trading store where they were working.
Oh, I can't remember his name.
Okay, so I should have written it down. But when Adam, the main vampire, comes up, and he's talking about this, and you know, and he says to his minion, they're minions, and he says to his minion, and remember, send in a fresh crop south, as we have a lot of mouths to feed, and that's it. And this has not stopped since. This is what
So the
It
fresh
was
crop.
it was Jack Bart's. Yeah.
Jack Bart's, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Lana. Yeah, fantastic. So it was Jack Bart's, and so what Adam says to Jack Bart's is, now remember, send us a fresh crop, fresh crop, fresh crop. So again, in the movie, to be able to, it's tough enough getting this movie made, but in the movie, what they show is that this is human trafficking, and that these are vampires, and vampires are just targeting blood. But we know better. We know better, and the writers and the producers and the director of the movie, they know better too. So all they can do, though, so this movie gets made, is that it doesn't touch on the children and the horror, the just the absolute sheer horror of that concept alone. So then they have to put it in there, but you know, in terms of comms. And so by saying a fresh crop, yeah. So remember what I was teaching all of you way back when, about the new Silk Road, and about Wuhan, China, what that was all about. China after World War II, the number one crop since World War II, and I mean, we can argue that since the beginning of what we know as these players, in the samsara, so Adam and Eve, and then Cain and Abel. It's been this story about harvesting our children for the purity and the nobility of their blood, and that's what's being said. So send us a fresh crop south. We have a lot of mouths to feed. I mean, it's horrible. It's just wow. And you know, Colleen and I were just hugging each other and holding each other, and we had just a really sort of vulnerable moment where we were just like, it's like, you can't prepare for this stuff. Like, I could never in a million years think that any of this could possibly have happened, or that anyone would even consider doing these things. So they have such an advantage over us, the Canaanites, because they're prepared to think and to do anything to achieve anything that comes into the scope of their mind, of their left brain. And we're not like that. You know, and Marie talks about it a lot, and she uses it, the term naivete, a lot, and that's a gift. That's an absolute gift to give us levity, which will allow us to levitate. This is, again, the wholeness of the word light. Light is also laughter. Remember that. And if you want to levitate, you got to get happy and in your life. And so naivete is very, very precious and important, because it's all part of this process of rising up to God in heaven.
Innocent.
And it comes with being innocent. So they have such a massive advantage over us, because they are ready, willing, and able to do whatever they need to facilitate whatever plans they come up with. We're not like that. We're not like that at all. And so once again, they have a massive, massive advantage. So the fact that when I said this about Wuhan, China 2 years ago, and most people were just in shock, because again, and rightfully so, because you can't conceive that anyone could be so evil. But they're vampires. It's their food source. And how many times during the movie at least 2 or 3 times, does Adam talk about how his people have been unfairly treated, and all I want is equality and a free, a free state, or a free And that's what this Israel is all about, this free state. That's what Israel is all about in the Holy Land, which is the ultimate dream of Cain, right? So if Cain lived on because he's a vampire in the form of Adam in this movie, then that would be Cain's ultimate dream, would be to claim the Holy Land and kick the children of Abel out and turn it into pure pestilence, pure evil. And has that not happened? Has that not happened? That's exactly what happened. And then this is a huge part of World War II, which we're going to get into. So, yeah, huge stuff. Now, do either of you want to jump in? Just remember, jump in at any point because we're going over some massive stuff.
Well, I mean, just to touch on the sort of innocence and naivety, I mean, you said it, that we need to hold on to that as precious, and we need to be, that's what we need to hold as like the image of the world, the earth that we're moving to, and we need to create and embrace, is where we can have that level of innocence and naivety at all times, to where children and everyone can walk the streets and be and trust. I should be able to trust a stranger with my life.
Yes.
I should be able to immediately have that level of trust with anyone that I encounter, that someone's word is absolutely what they say it is. And that's what we have to be holding in as an image, to strive for, is we can't allow any of this darkness to maintain. We can't allow any of this darkness to pollute and convolute and keep us away from that image. So yeah, I just want to hold on to that dream and aim for it, because it's very possible, because vast majority of all people are like that. We all want that. We all have that in our hearts. And it's just this tiny little infectious disease that's taken a hold, and we just have to get rid of it. We have to cure the sickness. We have to purge the toxins.
It's a
And
parasite. Yeah.
yeah, we have to get rid of the parasite. And when we do, then we can enter into that space and we can have that. So don't don't beat yourself up for being naive. Hold on to it. Recognize that we do have to be, we have to find that middle path, the middle way, and not be complacent. We can't be complacent with how we are, but it's still maintaining that level of innocence. So it's having a firm resolve to purge these parasites and never allow them to ever take their foothold again, to have that strong firm hand to get there, but also maintaining that innocence, so that after it's all said and done, we go back to being those children of God, and we look to our children to lead us into that state of being. So yeah, just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and so beautifully said, Justin. And and if some of you from time to time think that myself in particular, perhaps even Justin, might be a bit on the harsh side with certain people, we just take an uncompromising, dim view of anyone that puts children at risk. So you just need to know that. There's only so much that we can say, but
Because
again,
if you have the whole scope of where we're at,
yeah,
then you understand why we're needing to
Yeah.
be so harsh
Yeah.
at this point in time.
yeah. So there are things that I will say and do about others, and they're very important, because if I didn't say them, in hindsight, you'll say, Charlie, did you know? And why didn't you warn us? Why didn't you say something? And I would never do that. I would never do that. If I know better, I'll do better, regardless of what it would cost us in the perceived sense of things in the moment, because we just have to do better. It's not about subscribers. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about winning this battle. And then you're going to see that there's a lot of Sun Tzu and the art of war. The whole thing about the subterfuge with the train and the silver at the end, This is all Sun Tzu and the Art of War. So we're going to get into that now. Very, very. This is going to be this huge stuff. Next little thing that I wanted to say is that when Abraham Lincoln is saved by Henry Sturgis, and he wakes up battered beyond belief because Jack Bartz, the vampire, just rips him around. And just before that, I should also notice how Abraham Lincoln, in that state, very, very cowardly, intoxicated, very fearful, and he can't put the powder into the pistol. He can't even get the ball in as well. He's very nervous. He is not the man in that moment, because we become like that. We get like that. That's what the system does to us, is that it drains the strength out of us. It drains the courage out of us. And so notice how Lincoln never noticed in the little shed that he ran to hide and then repack the pistol. Notice how he didn't notice the dead naked woman just inches from him. Never even noticed. And that's consequential. That's consequential directing. That's showing you that even Abraham Lincoln, that all of us are like that at times in life, where we cannot see the forest for the trees.
The elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room. That is an elephant in the room, and he didn't see it. So that's a calm, and a major calm. Now, when he wakes up in Henry's house, and then he hears the screaming, runs in on Henry and his female guest. Henry starts the day, so he reaches for this little vial. That's right. And if you stopped and looked at what it said on it, it basically said sunrise. So it's makeup, and this is what they must do.
Protection, like a cream of some kind.
That's right. It is, but that's what makeup is. Makeup is protecting. So remember, in the movie, notice how they make it very clear that the vampires have black blood because they have no light. They are darkness. This is
black goo.
Black goo.
Have we heard that in the alternative
world? In the truth
just
community.
In the last couple of years,
yeah.
People were talking about black goo.
Mm-hmm. And then they were tying that into aliens and the black goo and aliens and stuff. No, aliens is the left brain. The aliens are the Canaanites. And again, there's another post from Ghost Ezra just yesterday drawing that again, that the aliens are here. They are amongst us. They are within us, because it's the left brain. It's the Canaanites. And so they have to wear makeup. They are darkness. Their blood is black. They need the light in the blood from our children to have this longer life. And they're dead. They're existent. So that's a massive calm. And then I want you to think about this. What is our reality now? And once again, with the mainstream media organized society, what do they always do? They always want you to think that this is the way it's been forever. And then Hollywood movies will show this to you. If they show a movie from the Dark Ages, if they show a movie from the Roman era, the women are all wearing makeup, right? They're all wearing, it's like, oh, these demons. And they've got crews of people to ensure that in all of these movies, these certain key things are being taught, right? Like we always ate meat and, murdering animals. So that has to be in every single movie. And then, the wearing of makeup and, the adorning oneself with fancy clothes and whatnot. So think about this. This is huge. So why do cities exist in the first place? So that these demons can hide. Why? Because they stick out like a sore thumb. Why? Because they're disgustingly ugly. Why? Because they do disgustingly ugly things. You are what you is based on what it is that you do. That's what you're going to look like. Just look at all of the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, any of the politicians. As they grow older, they look like the scum of the earth that they truly are. That's what happens. And then beautiful people, when they grow old, they continue to look beautiful. because you are what you is. What you do is what you will become. And that is this instant karma, the karmic debt that has to be paid in every single moment. You're a creditor or you're a debtor. And so they have to wear makeup. Cities exist so that they can hide. When the Canaanites first started to expand out from the rolling hills of Phoenicia on their ships, they stood out like a sore thumb, pushing usury, pushing currency in banks, and the way they looked, and then completely pale because they have no laminin in them. So they're constantly, anemic because of what they're doing. And so they can't fit in. So the first thing they knew is that they had to create cities. And that's why they then created these economic centers. And then so people were forced to come because that's where the money was. And so they're the ones that really shifted things from barter systems. They did not want bartering. They wanted money. And then they are the source of these coins, these pieces of eight, that would then draw people into these mercantile or into these economic centers. Okay, so they draw you in, a lot of people, and then they can sort of fit in or hide a little bit more. Now, the next thing is, if they have to wear makeup and nobody else is wearing makeup, regardless of what a Hollywood movie shows you, let's look at Gladiator. Oh yeah, no, eyelash makeup, it was crazy. So wear makeup, they're gonna steal them. So what did they do? They taught us and women to paint your face and block the sun. And of course now they've taught all of us to fear the sun. Really? I thought everyone everywhere revered the sun, but we're the only culture ever that doesn't revere the sun, and we live in absolute fear of the sun because it's, the source of cancer. I mean, how far does your head have to be up, where to believe in that one? Wow. But they're good at what they do. They're very good at what they do, and it's not fair because they attack you with this crap from the moment you're born, and they own your parents. So then they're in on it.
How brilliant that sunscreen would cause cancer.
So then sunscreen causes cancer, and then they blame it on the sun and stuff. But remember, sunscreen and makeup is all because they're vampires. It's real. It's real. It's real. It's real. It's real. They're vampires. They are anemic because of the double iron from this process. And they can't have God within them. They're black. They have no light, and they don't have Jesus Christ within them. So they have no laminin, and they're leaking to death. So remember this. It's absolutely real. That's where the makeup industry, it's always out of necessity that these things happen. They do what they do to us. This is vivisection. This is laboratory science 101. They do everything what they do to allow these ugly demons to blend in. And then over time, they need us to partake in this drinking of blood and this taking of life and this eating of death, which is animals. And then now, through the wonders of ground up animals and hamburger meat and fast food restaurants, don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. I'm sure we were the first ones to say this 3 years ago. Now there's a lot of memes that are out there, and they're all saying the following. If you have eaten in the last probably 30 years, if you've eaten at McDonald's or these fast food restaurants, you've likely eaten human flesh, and you've probably eaten baby flesh by partaking in this food. And it's true.
They've attacked us from every angle.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it.
And remember, so then the animals are key. Murdering of these beautiful animals and eating dead rotting flesh is key because it's a slippery slope. It's a doorway that then opens for a myriad of possibilities. Like we put humans in the food. Is there any basis to this, Charlie? Well, they always like to put the truth in plain sight. Charlton Heston, 1972, Soylent Green, what did Charlton say at the end of the movie? He spent the whole movie trying to figure out what's going on. Humans are humans are Soylent Green. Soylent Green is people. And yep, that's what they were feeding us, is us. Isn't that what they do with animal feed? These, right? That's these
That's
Canaanites
where that cow sickness came. It was mad cow disease.
Mad
because
cow
they were
disease?
feeding cows.
to cows. Yeah. If you have the audacity to die on us, because we're the cheap cabal, pieces of eight, how cheap can you get? If you have the audacity to die, then we'll grind you up and we'll feed you to your brethren, and then if there's a problem with that, it just gets passed on to. Do you think for a second that any of these vampires eat at McDonald's ever? Ever once?
Well, maybe if they like eating humans, they do. Yeah.
That's not how they eat humans. You know this. They're real carnivores. They're lappers of blood, and it's fresh. It's fresh. That's what they do. And you see this. We're going to get into that as well. So, yeah, makeup. So the whole makeup industry. Wow.
Which is
Wow,
also
wow.
in the celebrity zone. They a lot of the women, if you notice lately in the last 10 years, there's been a lot of the celebrities been selling their makeup line. And I can imagine that I can't even remember the names of these people, but they've all got this makeup line, and we know that they were selling adrenochrome through there and all sorts of horrible things in their makeup products, bringing freshness to your face.
And then we don't have time to go into this, but again, Jack Kidd's sister, who is tied to Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, she ran that makeup company, and on the board of directors for her makeup company just happened to be Ghislaine Maxwell. And when Charlie Ward burst onto the scene promoting Greg Hallett and his absolutely bullshit story about becoming the next king of England, who did Charlie do all those shows with?
Jack Kidd.
Jack Kidd. And the Kidd family are tied to the so-called royals and the royal family. That's what Charlie said in his own words. Again, they're blood with the royals. And then on the board of directors is Ghislaine Maxwell. Folks, just remember this, and this is just common sense. These people deal with a tiny element of society because they have to be able to trust these people, and they have to own them. So anyone who is laundering money for vampires, they own you. There's no other way. They don't casually take chances here, there, and everywhere. They only deal. So if you're procuring kids for Jimmy Savile and the artists on Top of the Pops, you're owned. They don't take chances and go, hey, you can round up some kids for us backstage. Make them young, make sure they're young, kind of. They don't take chances. They deal with a tiny group of people. And most of these people that they deal with have grown up in cults, like on the Isle of Wight. So and then the other thing that was then brought up in the movie at this point through Henry Sturgis is that and then Adam deals with this as well, which is that they need Abraham Lincoln to be able to help solve their problems, because vampires can't kill vampires. And then if you're sort of struggling with the sort of the physical logic of what's being said there, it's more allegorical. You can't, and that's what Henry says, you can't kill the dead. They're already dead. Don't think of this as killing them, Abraham. You're destroying them. And that's what I've always taught as well, which is this. When you do this process, your blood is black because there's no light within you. If there's no light within you, there's no God within you. If There's no God within you. There's no next time around the wheel. There's only there's only no more existence. It's the end of all ends, and that's the gift. That's the righteous gift and the choice of free will. God loves you so much you can do anything you want, including taking your own self out of existence. So you can't exist in God's creation if you have no God within you. God is light. They're pointing this out, that these people are complete darkness. So Henry takes Abraham into a dark room and starts beating the crap out of him and says, you have to see in the dark. You have to see where there is no one. And that is, sadly, part of what we need to be able to do as well. And the only way you can do that, again, is through becoming the lighthouse. So it's this inner work that we have to do, and the connection. See, and then the connection to God by going within. Then that is intuition and telepathy, which is your spidey senses are going, that's a vampire, because Jesus and God are constantly working and in informing you. Who the you get a bad feel or a bad rub with somebody, yeah, because you're connected to God. The light is on. You got oil in your lamp, and the whole system is working, and nobody's going to fool you when you're connected to the Father. So this is another key point. You can't kill the dead. They're already dead. So why do they call them dead? Why do they call these vampires dead? Because God is the God of living. That's why. And I'll tie this all together at the end of the movie with the comments that Abraham Lincoln makes in his final speech at Gettysburg, when he's literally talking about, the land of the living, and we are the living, not the dead. And wow, and that's real. That's all real stuff that Abraham Lincoln was saying. So the life of a hunter is no friends, no family. And then when this happens, and William Wallace didn't die, by the way. No, he was John Galted. So when William Wallace Lincoln
Well, we sure hope so.
was infected by the vampires, and he dies, then Abraham asks Henry, why, Henry, didn't they just take me? And Henry looks at Abraham and he says, because it's pure torture if they do it to the ones you love. These are the Jesuits. The Jesuits are pure vampires. They're just, and who runs the Vatican? Who's the Catholic Church? They're vampires. In the most sacred, important position, and they put pure vampires into that, and that's what they are. So it's horrific stuff, but it's all true, and they're putting this for us and all in plain sight. So if you're going to do this, wear a mask. Batman says, wear a mask, and it's to protect the ones that you love, because that's who they come after. They always do.
That's why the Q team has said, stay anonymous to everybody. We didn't hear that.
We didn't hear
apparently.
that. That's true. We didn't listen, and you know what happened to us in 2020.
Well,
So
we didn't plan on doing this, but
yeah,
it happened.
that's right.
Yeah,
And
that's an interesting sort of uh, transition that we're going to have to all go through for the Anons to shift out of, because it was necessary at the time to stay anonymous and to be this sort of behind the scenes. But now we have to do what you guys are doing and what we're doing, and be very open and forthright and transparent, because we have to shift towards that transparency. So I've had a lot of conversations with people in the Anon community about the importance of realizing that that was a necessary step, but we've got to be moving to this place of ultimate transparency, which means we have to show ourselves and be that example. So you guys were just ahead of the curve and did it a little bit ahead of the time, for better, for
yeah.
worse. But you've got the armor of God, so it doesn't really matter.
Thank you, Justin. And it's true. There's just no compromise in Colleen and I. And there, growing up, there never has been either. It's just the way that we are, and we won't compromise on what is right and what is wrong. So,
Yeah,
and
speaking of that, I've got a fun story to share real quickly. I did get a call from the FBI yesterday, which was fun.
For
There
cereal?
was there was someone who did an anonymous tip about me being in DC on January 6th. And so I had this guy call me. I mean, he was really nice, and he was just like, "Yeah, we had an anonymous tip that you might have been involved with the insurrection." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well,
Anonymous tip. Wow.
yeah, so that just goes to show that either someone who doesn't like me and what I'm doing,
it goes to show that the Charlie Ward team watches our show religiously.
mhm,
They do.
yeah. But fortunately, I had plenty of postings from that day and showed everything. It's like, yeah, no, I was there as the millions of other people were there, but didn't. He was like, were you involved with the insurrection in any way? It's like, nope, absolutely not.
Siobhan's gonna get a call.
Are you Buffalo Hunter, man?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
If I just want to say one thing, can you guys hear me okay? Just just to talk about that transparency piece and, you know, not being anonymous, Charlie and Colleen like being out there and really going for it. And it's really, I think, inspired so many of us. It certainly has inspired me to put so much on the line for this. And someone asked me recently, like, what do you get from this? Like, what is the benefit to you? Like, you're losing everything, like your whole life seems to be falling apart. Uh, what is the benefit for you? And I just had this moment of like, isn't it enough that we're doing the right thing? Like, isn't that enough of a benefit to just do the right thing? And to know that we're taking this all the way, like we're not being complicit. We're not just like not looking at the hard things anymore. And it's really hard to see them. And I think a lot of people get offended and they get grossed out and they just want to say, well, you people are crazy or you people are making stories up or whatever they're saying. But the deeper cut is to look at it, acknowledge it's happening. It's in plain sight. It's been in our faces for a long time. There was another movie about cannibalism with Nicole Kidman, and I can't remember the name of it in this moment. But at one point, it was so gross. Like they literally, like my kids over there, but they killed somebody, put him in a meat grinder. She made the burger, and she made the guy. I'm sorry to share this, and she made the guy eat it in front of her. Like that was something, I don't even know how I saw that because I don't watch any of this and I've avoided a lot of this for a very long time. But the benefit for being out is that you're doing the right thing. And however you're serving, whether it's on a Zoom call or it's supporting us in the chat and just telling us how much you love us, like, you know how much that means? Because it is really hard sometimes. I just want to speak for my own. Like, it's hard to see agents everywhere and to see the absence of humanity, just the robotic nature of an airport right now is very kind of alarming. I said to Danny, when are we going to just like smile again, like at all the people, and like you walk down the hallway and you make eye contact and you kind of try and smile with your eyeballs, but like I can't see anyone's face and it's driving me crazy. Like I just need to see everybody's face again. And that's the benefit. Like that's what's on the line here. Yes, there's choices, but we can't just sit back and be like, this is a choice. Well, vampires want to do this. No, like, no, that there's a right and a wrong now. And that's what we're up to. And it is hard. And we are perceived sometimes as being judgmental or harsh or whatever. It's not meant to be that. It's like, if you sit with the seriousness of this, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about being judged. It's about getting out of this cycle once and for all and for all, like seriously. So I just wanted to chime in and say that because it is something now to be out in the public, like as one of these anons people, that says crazy things online about vampires and children. But like, if you go beyond the language, like you can actually see why are we doing this? like, is this fun? I mean, it's fun on one hand because we've made a family, we found our soul tribe. Like, that's all the best. That's the gifts because God loves us. He'll give it to us. But the other part of this is that it is kind of hard, and there is a lot of loss, and there are a lot of people. And now the FBI calls Justin. Like, it's this stuff goes down. So I just wanted to say that.
Well, and it makes, yeah, go ahead, sweetheart.
You said, I'm losing everything, or I've lost everything, and some people have, but it's a changing of everything. So you're losing something, but the stuff that we're gaining, the people that we're gaining in our life are authentic. There's no more of this mask wearing people. They're authentic. And I mean mask wearing on many levels. So we're exchanging now. We're in a transition in every phase of our life. So we're getting the authentic people now, and the other ones are falling away because our frequency's raising and your frequencies are higher, so we can all come together magnetically. And this is the beautiful thing about it. And we're exchanging, like, the money might go away for a little while, but the resources and everything that we need will come back. All of those things will come back to us, and we do the work, and the rewards will, and they are, and they have to be built in. And we will be supported by all of our family, and we will support them, and they will support us. It's a reciprocal thing, and it may take some time in the transition as we, adjust our frequencies and let go of all of that old paradigm. And there's so many beliefs that we hold on to that keep us from getting what we need. And I was one of the ones. He was way ahead of me in many areas, and I had to let go of so much in order to get what we needed to get, because it was just, the whole paradigm shift can be really messy for a while, but it is so rewarding on the other side. I would do this again over and over and over again. If I had to redo this, I would do it 1,000 times easily for all of this. I would, that's
Absolutely. And those are the real treasures.
Getting rid of those people that weren't authentic in your life is a blessing. Getting rid of all of that crap and all of that left brain shit is such a blessing. And wow, the best is yet to come, and I'm not kidding about that. It is so coming, and it's not very far off.
It's the baptism of fire, truly.
Yep.
Yeah, and the safety that comes from that, doing the right thing. When you say like the rewards are built in, it's so true. Like having a real hug with Kira, my kids are getting loud. Like that was worth this trip. Like Danny said to me, like the 2 days of Kira's like made this whole trip amazing. And that's what we're saying too, is like the benefits of this, of going through this tunnel, getting through this is immense, and it's worth it a million times over. So I'm going to mute myself. Love you guys.
We love you too.
Okay, so and now jumping back into this, we see that Henry is now teaching Abraham that you need to channel your anger, and if you just want to do this for revenging your mother, what have you achieved? What have you achieved? If you do not pay this for, so like, what does Henry say? So then what happens though, Abraham? So let's say you're successful and you kill this person. What happens to the next mother's child that's taken by these vampires? Who stands up for them? Abe, who stands up for them? You're just an angry man who's seeking vengeance. You're not achieving anything. There's no value to this. You're not returning your mother. It's a one-time thing. And so Henry's teaching Abraham to think outside of his small self. And remember, this is the Abraham who went into the little shack to recap the pistol and didn't even notice a dead naked woman, ripped throat right next to him. Didn't notice that. So that's sort of what we're like when people come into our lives and start to shake you and say, you have to become vampire hunters. And it's kind of funny because that's kind of what we've been doing. And and then he teaches Abraham to then channel that into the truth. And so, so why are you angry, Abraham? Well, who are you angry at? Jack Bartz. Okay, chop down the tree in one swing. Well, I can't do that. Nobody can do that. Well, let's give it a go. Go. He goes, well, you're not really very mad at Jack Bartz, are you? So what are you really mad at? That my mother was unfairly taken away from me. And he takes a bigger swing. And he said, that clearly that's not it. That happened, and I was powerless to stop it. And it was a much bigger swing. And then Henry steps in and he says, and that it's you, that you're weak, you have no power, you have no courage, you didn't stand up, you didn't do it, and ultimately it's your fault for your actions. You did this, isn't that right, Abraham? Boom! And the tree is gone. And that's how mothers lift cars off of their children in accidents, and that's how you chop a tree down in one swing. You get to the heart of the matter. And then Henry takes all of this and he says, you see, Abraham, this is truth number one, everyone. So I hope you got that in the movie. Write it down right now. Henry says to Abraham, real power, Abraham, and I mean real power, doesn't come from hate, comes through truth. That's why we do, going to Justin, that's why we do what we do. Real power. We are attempting to empower you. And it only comes through truth. Your anger will get you. And it's the same thing like with genetics and epigenetics. Genetics is just not very much at all. Epigenetics is everything. That is your environment. That's why they've created hell on earth, and it's on 24/7, because they're trying to control our epigenetics. They know this. They know all of this. So one swing chops down a tree through the truth. He cut through the lies and he went right to the truth. Okay? And then now this is really, really key. And then Henry teaches the secret weapon, and this is silver. And he says, it's biblical. And when Jesus was betrayed by Judas, and Judas went to the elders of the Hebrew church in Jerusalem, he was paid in 30 silver coins. And in the moment that these demons bartered 30 silver coins for robbing us of the Son of Man, then silver became their bane. And it is. And there's no way, and I'd like Justin to speak to this as well, there is no way that you can deny this. All you have to do is just do a little bit of research and a little history into silver, and you will see how they have powerfully devalued silver by overinflating gold. And then how do our investment markets work? They've been so good at it. You don't get to hold gold, you don't get to hold silver, you get paper. And then what are we finding out now through the great work of Silence Dogood and others, is that all of these brokers that are selling you your gold and silver, they don't have any. They don't have any, and it's just like Federal Reserve money. They've just been selling you worthless pieces of paper, and now you're waiting to cash out all your gold and silver investments. You got nothing. And just like us, you got nothing in your gold and silver investments because there's nothing there. And the reason that they rounded it all up is to get it away and get it out of our hands. And this is what they've done a masterful job of making you think that silver is just a joke in comparison to gold, and that, if you do want to get silver, well then, you just get paper silver. Now, what's been nice over the last few years is that there's various agencies that are selling these, 99.3, 99.6% pure silver coins. But they're sort of few and far between. And of course, they do everything they can, just so that you're aware of this, they do everything they can to drive the price of physical gold and especially silver down, down,
Which never made
down.
any sense to me at
No,
all. Why
no.
it was all so undervalued, and everything else was propped up. It was bizarre, but now I get it.
Well, when you look at even just uh, the way that it's used industrially, just in their technology. I mean, our phones use so much silver and so much gold in every single one. And our computers and all of our electronics, all of these things, smart TVs, all smart devices use lots of silver. A Tesla car uses an insane amount of silver. And that, so you've got that paired with just the financial value of it. It makes absolutely no sense that if it was a free market, if everything was as it should be, that this thing would stay at a low value. I mean, they can't even mine silver. They don't even make a profit if they don't sell it for more than like 10 to $15 an ounce. And so there have been times in recent history where they've been losing money just by mining silver because of the way that the price has been set up. But as Charlie said, they do this by flooding the market with these paper versions of it. And they just trick everyone into thinking like, oh, I shouldn't actually like hold on to it myself. I should just let them hold on to it and take this paper version of it because that's a lot easier because they're like, oh, we'll just make it convenient for you. You know, you don't have to store it. We'll keep it for you. You can just take this paper version of it. And then they do a lot of insider trading back and forth between people and say, you know, such and such sold this amount of paper versions of it and just flood the market with it. But if you actually look at the totals each year, there are more paper versions sold of silver than there are in like a single month than there are mined in that entire year. So just from a purely logical standpoint, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's arguably the biggest financial scam there has ever been. And that's why this allegory is so powerful, and that's why it is the silver bullet, because this is the thing that drives home. This is the thing that slays the beast, this Federal Reserve and this global financial cabal and this central banking system. This is how they've done it for so long. So yeah, I mean it's really exciting because it, as this movie portrayed, and Charlie, I don't want to skip too much and jump too far ahead, but yeah, this movie just powerfully portrays how we can all take ownership of this process and how we can take a very firm hand in saying, fuck you, like you're not playing this game anymore. You're not going to do this anymore. You're not going to scam us anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to take ownership and I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy 1 ounce of silver or a few ounces of silver. And if every single person did that, it would be done and over with overnight. And that's what's happening. You know, enough people are taking that momentum and buying enough small bits at a time, and that's taking ownership of that system. And then we're doing it. It's happening. They can't keep up. It's working.
So that was a great point that Justin brought up. Thank you, Justin. And I want everyone to process what Justin just said. Justin said this is the biggest financial fraud. There's a lot of financial fraud that's out there, but what they've done to physical gold and physical silver, and in particular silver, because of the practical uses that it has for our level of technology across the board, which are necessary because these are all devices of distraction, which is very, very important. So they play these dangerous games by having to deal in silver, but they have to. God created it that way. See, God created it that way. So they walk always, these demons walk a very fine line because of how God created everything. It's brilliant. But I want everyone to note that the Federal Reserve, and making sure that this wasn't done on their dime, it was done on somebody else's dime, is a massive point. That's very, very true. But it goes deeper than that. And the deepness is this ability to manipulate the practical physical markets, so gold, physical silver, all of sort of the these major elements, and to be able to control it. It's very, very, very important. And I became interested in silver at a relatively young age, back in 1977, 78. And I began to and try and collect silver. And so I've been aware since that time of this massive undervaluing of silver. And you're always waiting for silver to just explode because of its practical importance in our technology world. It's all, you just look at this and you go, any day now it's going to explode. It never does. Never does. That's impossible. And when it's impossible, then the cabal are in on it. And this
So,
is huge
What
because
is it? Go ahead.
no, you go ahead, sweetheart.
What is it about silver?
In that
Let's
moment,
talk
in-
about
in-
the properties of silver.
yeah, well, in that moment versus so much. Well, I'll get into this, but and it all relates, by the way, to the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, and the hypothalamus. So this is melatonin, serotonin, and dopamine. So melatonin is gold. Serotonin is silver. And you look at the things that serotonin does and regulates, it's very silver properties. And remember, alchemically, the alchemical process, which is silver, gold, and blue, that's rising up into heaven. It all ties into this as well. So again, the mother, the sacred feminine, is the silver, and the father is the gold. And we're going to tie this in at the end of the show here. It's going to really, really blow you away. It's very, very cool. It's very, very important to bring these points up. And the reason is because they're fighting for their lives. So in that moment, so where does this it all comes from God. In that moment, when the elders of the church in Jerusalem paid Judah to betray the Son of Man, to die upon the cross, it was with 30 pieces of silver. And in that moment, silver became the bane of all of these demons. And so who did it? It's the church. We're decoding the Bible for you. And we don't have to do much decoding. Jesus makes this very, very clear. The real enemy of man is organized society, and in particular, the church. He has made that so clear. And we don't need to decode anything. He tells you that in plain sight. And that's what they're showing. And so when Abraham begins to slay these vampires, what does Abraham say? He says, when he's writing the letter back to Henry, he says, Henry, I can't believe how many of them there are. And he said, and they're in all lines of work. So it was, in the beginning, it was a banker. And what else did he say? It was a clergyman. And then it was a smith for Mr. Smith, and a mason, obviously, for the masons as well. So they're just pointing out to you.
Just watch the movie Hot Fuzz. All of the people who were involved in that.
Yeah.
All of the
Yeah.
authorities in town.
Yeah. Yeah. They were all in on it. All the key figures were Freemasons, and that's what they're showing. So that's where the silver comes in, and it is their bane, and that's why they do what they do with silver. That's why. So why are Justin and I really encouraging you to buy physical silver? Because if what we're telling you is true, and the takedown of the cabal is real, and that we're moving forward, and it, at the end of the day, it's just not ultimately that important. But like Justin says, for now in the transition, it can be very important, because you've been, all of you have been forced to deal with so little for so long. So in this transitional phase, when silver takes off here, this is going to be a big help. Just, you know, a small collection of actual silver coins can turn into a lot, and righteously, beautifully so. So that's where this comes in, and I wanted to bring that up because it's a very true and important point. And so Henry says to Abraham, "You will never see a vampire with silver on his person, nor will you see them, nor will they have a reflection in a mirror." And that's perfect. And you think that that's just allegory of the left brain and the ego, but that's literally true as well. These people who are so far gone and ruled by their ego, they don't see anything because they are not looking. They're not looking to see anything, and they don't see anything in the mirror. They're not seeing themselves in the mirror. That is an allegory, but it's literally true with these people as well. It's really sad. It is very
Because
very
their
sad.
true essence isn't there any longer, right? Their God particle is so squished down.
Yeah, and then thank you. And then Henry says, so then they spread, and how did they spread? Well, they spread to the New World, and so what happened to the Aboriginal peoples on every? You can't deny this. You cannot deny this. What happened to the Aboriginal peoples on every single one of these continents? They were just bloodletted.
Genocide.
They were genocided. And then there's a convenient story that this is about wealth, and this is, you know, take their
they were
land,
savages.
and they're, of course, they're savages and we had to defend ourselves or whatever. No, it's the purity of the blood, because these people were not poisoned or toxified. So it's the purity of the blood, and they absolutely went to town and they had a feast with it. And you can't deny this. You cannot deny this. Every single continent had that experience. When the Europeans went forth everywhere, Central America, South America, North America, Africa, everywhere, they bloodletted in a massive way. But it's Cortez's fault. Cortez the killer, you know, or it's Columbus's fault. Wow. So that's another absolutely huge point. And another real point, not to spend a lot of time on this, but just really quickly, they also pointed out, where did these slaves come from? These were wealthy black Africans selling poor Africans. That's the truth. That's the truth. Some of the most wealthiest, powerful businessmen in the south of the United States were black. That doesn't get talked about a lot, but that's the truth. That's the truth. And they were tolerated without any hassles whatsoever by their other rich brethren because they were providing food. They were providing a very important aspect, which is life, to these vampires. So that's the truth. There
Because
were
it's
a lot,
obvious they've been doing this for
a long time.
perhaps thousands of years, maybe more.
Well, it goes right back to Cain and Abel.
Right.
So however long that is, that this is the age old. This is the age old. And that's why Jesus says, with your children, keep your children close to me.
And that's why
Absolutely.
the actual Phoenicians, the Semites, were kicked out of every country, every place that they were, because they had practices of sacrificing and eating and drinking the blood and eating the children. And if you look at all the ancient artifacts where they have the statues and stuff, and they've got all these like monster type men eating children, and you're just like, what kind of a statue is that? What happened back then that would make people want to make a statue like that and put it in their garden? Like, wow.
And so some more comms here. We're just going to go through this quickly because we have so much still to talk about here. But as we go through this, just some really important things that are being shown here. Henry says that it falls to the few chosen ones, and that when you know better, you have to do better, and that's the problem, is that many are called, few are chosen because few answer the call. is the reality. And that's why Henry does what he does, is to continue to recruit these people that will think beyond themselves, get out of their left brain, and do this for the benefit of all mankind. So it's a really, really key point. Okay, now the first client, the first client for Abraham Lincoln was the gentleman who was a pharmacist. So this is a calm for big pharma. Vampires in big pharma. Vampires in big pharma. Big pharma, which controls the heavy arms industry as well, creating all of these wars, and that of course is to separate children from their families. And yeah, big vampires with the pharmaceutical industry. And then when Abraham is walking at night to the pharmacist's shop, did you pick up the sign in the window? And what was the sign in the window? They focused on it just for a sec, and then it continued. It was an advertisement for sunscreen to protect against the harmful rays of the sun. Massive calm, vampires, and then they're godless, and huge, absolutely huge. In the window also was one half of the caduceus instead of two halves of the caduceus for balance, and it was the masculine, the masculine caduceus that was only wrapping around the spine. There was the no feminine was there. That was another major calm. And then another really key point here. Why this incredible hatred for black people, and why teach the people of the South, which they did, and the churches were number one on the list for teaching white people to hate, and I mean hate, black people, so that lynchings were just a common reality, and nobody said anything, and nobody did any investigation on it. Why? Because they liked the purity of the sweet innocence. And again, the black culture in the United States, in particular the South, has no support. They're alone. They're absolutely alone. So their children are even more alone. There's no one to protect them. There's no one in the law to protect them. So why were things so bad? So again, I just want you to think holistically with this. So why teach white people to so violently hate black people? To justify what these vampires do. Do you see everything that's happened in history, provable, their history, their story is confirming all of this. It's showing that they're vampires. Mm-hmm. They needed the people in the South to just, if there's tons and tons of black children going missing, nobody bats an eye at it. That's why you teach the hatred of black, this absolute hatred of black people, so then you can just ravage, and that's what they did.
Part of their division, right?
And then
division, and they can conquer.
And then wealthy black people had massive businesses to go back to Africa and get more product and bring it across for vampires. And it was black people doing it. The reason I point this out is because it's not white or black, it's left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain.
And we all know that the left brain has less ability to dance, less ability to be graceful, and beautiful black people have all of that. So they probably just...
To the right. There's a reason. There's a reason Hillary Clinton had a massive proclivity for black children. So there's a reason.
Crazy.
The killing of the blacksmith is a smith, which is also referencing the Freemasons, but also he put his head into the fire. So This is the righteous fire through Abraham. And when Abraham got caught in his first attempt, which was at the pharmacist, and the pharmacist pulled the trap door, and Abraham fell and was hung upside down. And then when he slid the bowl underneath Abraham's throat to slit his throat, what did he ask Abraham? This is a very important calm. What did you eat today? Did you eat today? Did you eat today? Yeah, they drink blood.
So what does your blood taste like?
That's right. What does your blood taste
Did
like?
you have garlic? 'Cause
Yeah.
We don't like garlic
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What did you eat? So that's why they don't go near adults. Again, the movie doesn't get made if this is all children. It just doesn't get made. So they had to do what they had to do. But that's a massive calm. Did you eat today? Just before he's about to slice his throat. Wow. Tangibility. And then Mary, when sort of Mary gets into this, she's basically saying to Abraham, you have to do what is right, no matter what, you have to do what is right. And she said to Abraham, it's only a question of where you plant your feet. So you plant your feet and stand firm against the enemy. It's only a question of where you plant your feet, to the right or to the left. Okay, we're moving along here. There's the one scene where Jefferson Davis, which was the president of the South, goes to Adam and says that Lincoln has flooded the fields with Union soldiers, and they're better equipped than ours as well, and we can't long survive this influx. And so Jefferson Davis says to Cain, or Adam, he says that we'll support you if you support us. And then Adam says to Jefferson Davis, you'll have our full support. This is what draws these minions in, this perceived need of power and money, and therefore to be able to achieve these things, if there's a group that will do this for a price, you'll pay the price, because the whole point of life is money and power. And so when you're on that slippery slope, it is a very, very slippery slope to hell upon earth. And that's what it is. So you see Jefferson Davis making a deal with the devil, literally making a deal with the devil. I'll scratch your back, quid pro quo. I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. And then, of course, they own these people. They own these minions, because they get the minions to partake in this process as well. But don't teach them the right way, which we'll get into in a sec. So
Just really quickly, yes, garlic is to be used as a medicine, not to be consumed all the time.
that's right. Every night at dinner, and wonderful cream sauces, and they all have garlic in them. No. All the really spicy
burn you,
foods.
like it can,
Yeah.
One time I was told to use it for a scorpion sting, and just rub garlic on you, and I rubbed it on my skin, and it burnt my skin. It was worse than the scorpion bite. So yeah, just got to be very careful with garlic, but it can be used as a medicine.
That's right. That's what it
Internally.
is. Yeah, all of those super spicy foods, and they've got people all around the world making that the basis to every meal. Every meal are these super spicy foods. So yes, we're coming towards the end of the movie now. Always have a contingency plan. So then this is the Q team, and this is Sun Tzu in the Art of War. That's what you're seeing there, the subterfuge. You know, these false betrayals. So Speed looks like he's betraying Abraham and on a plausible basis for tearing the country apart. But he's just setting up the vampires. So yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, that one actually got me for a little bit. I was thinking maybe he was a traitor,
Yeah.
which is what we're doing with everybody right now in the political realm. We're like, is he good? Is he good? We don't know. Trump says maybe, and then you're just like, we will have to wait and see
Yeah.
who's the white hat and who's the black hat, and who's the gray hat and the red hat, and
Yeah. So now, how do we know that this is just all about the living versus the dead, about good versus evil, and this is all biblical? Listen to Lincoln's speech. Now, this is a clip from Lincoln's actual speech, and it says, "It is for us, the living, to be dedicated here, which they who fought here have thus so for nobly advanced, um, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." And the thing that is just really, really got me with that is that speech and that sentiment that a government the people, by the people, for the people, was what Adolf Hitler talked about. And because I've decoded the translations out of German into English so many, and he kept talking about this necessity to do what he's doing to preserve God, to preserve righteousness, and to preserve a government of the people, by the people, for the people. So when I heard that the second time through the movie, it just went, wow. And then guess what? Who also spoke about that? John F. Kennedy, who then also spoke about this government of the people, by the people, for the people, Donald Trump. Then it just hit me. And it's like, oh God, yeah, absolutely. There is that line of these warriors of God that are risking everything, putting everything on the line. And that's what they're pointing out to you in the movie with Abraham Lincoln. He put the safety of his own family on the line. We're all in. Like, that's the point that they're making in the movie. You need to recognize this. If we're going to win, we have to be all in. Like, all the chips are on the table here. So don't ask Justin and I to take it easy on this guy or that guy for being fucking liars. No, we are all in. And if we're not all in, then they're going to lose the battle but win the war. We can't allow that to happen. We can't allow that to happen.
Yeah, you can ask me, but I'll tell you to get behind me, Satan, and I'll be very clear about it.
Get behind me, Satan.
That's
Quit ravaging the land.
that's the truth. We cannot serve two masters. If you're not serving one, you're inevitably serving the other, and we have to get very clear about that. So do not tell me to not call out liars. I'm going to call them out every single time.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I'm not here judging. I'm not judging them for what they're doing. I don't know what they've been through to make them make the decisions that they're making, but I'm going to very much call out the lie and point out that they are continuing to lie, and that has to be known. That has to be said.
When you say to Colleen and I that you just care about the children, um, and then you just make it your business to make your business hanging out with Charlie Ward. You don't care about the children. You don't care about the children. So stop fucking lying to everyone, okay? Just have the courage to tell the truth. Then we may not agree with you, but but at least will respect you for being honest in your beliefs. You may not agree with them, but tell the truth. Just be honest. But that's not what these demons want. They all want to be evil, but they want to look goodly while they're doing it. The church, right? The church. So they all want to do this, and that's why I'm here. I will not let you have it both ways. I will not let you have it both ways. If you want to be evil, you're going to be exposed for being evil. And that's just the way it is. So don't tell me that you care about the kids. Don't. If you are, that's incredible. Then be it. Be it in every single moment and put the kids first.
Yeah.
Yep.
At this point, like I just saw on the chat, we have to win this war.
Yeah.
We have to. We have a choice. We want mankind to survive. We have to win this war.
So now, thank you, and listen to this quote from Lincoln. Our enemies made their exodus, some to Europe, some to South America, some to the Orient. But it seems that America shall forever be a nation of living men, a nation of free men. And then at 1:36:58, so I made a point, so you can just fast forward within the movie to see it. So the time marker in the movie is 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 58 seconds. And this is the day they're going to the theater. And this is huge. So these are comms, and this is how you have to be able to read the comms, see the bigger picture to get everything that's coming out of this. So he's flustered. He's looking for his hat and whatnot, and then he's off to the theater. And as the carriage is pulling away at 1:36:58 in the movie, and as the camera pans back, it's a cue. It's a cue. So he's on his way to be assassinated. He's on his way to be assassinated, and the filmmakers show that door to the right, the moksha. They're showing the swiggle to the right of the great Q on the grounds of the White House.
We're pretty sure.
No, that's a, so then that's a calm, and that calm is that Lincoln, for like a lightning bolt, that's a calm that Lincoln was galted, John galted, and taken out, so that he wasn't cannon fodder. So that's a really, really, really key point. And then he goes back over, because how important is this to Abraham Lincoln? How important it was to the makers of this movie? Then he goes back and he talks about history, and how history is only a fraction of the truth, 10%, 10% of the truth. And they remembered the battle and not the blood. History, a fraction of the truth. Then the scene cuts to a helicopter, and it's modern times at the White House. So that's interesting, because it was a helicopter landing on the White House grass. Then the next scene is Henry is in a bar again, but this time 200 years or 150 years in the future. And there's a guy drinking, and so he's on his cell phone, and at 12:45, anyone get the significance? Is that a calm? 12:45. So 1:12 is completion, and 1 and 2 is 3. So he of the holy bloodline. So then that's what the 12 would be showing, is that this person, and then it's 12:45. Is this the 45th president? is the next person? Because the whole movie was that Henry did this to Abraham Lincoln, and Lincoln became president.
So Trump is the vampire.
So Henry meets Abraham Lincoln in a bar, because he's trying to build up enough courage to take a man's life, and he turns out to be Abraham Lincoln, and he met him in a bar, and And then at the end of the movie, there's a helicopter suddenly landing on the White House lawn. It cuts to a modern bar. You have a guy who's on his cell phone and he's writing a message and he's saying, "I am sorry for what I'm about to do." And the timestamp on the phone is 12:45. The 12 is the 1 plus 2 is 3, which is the pure bloodline of the father, the mother, the child. Okay, so then that would be Abel. But I've said to you this before. I really believe that Trump comes from that one of these really pure bloodlines. And
Or it could be JFK.
yeah,
Junior.
that's right. So, but the significance, the marker is 45. So it's 12:45. So the pure bloodline 45. That's Donald Trump. And then remember when in the beginning when Henry slaps Lincoln like that, and Lincoln's gun falls down. Well, to this guy, the gun falls down. And while I don't know the type or the make of the gun, that handgun that fell to the ground in the bar, that is the exact handgun that Trump uses in all those QT memes when Trump is sitting there. And for some of them, it's like, the only reason they're after me because I'm in their way to get to you. And then anytime they use the shot of Trump holding a pistol, it's that gun. I'm not kidding. It's that gun. And it's 12:45 timestamp. It's the whole point of the movie. The whole point of the movie is you went into a bar and this guy is, trying to find courage to seek revenge on vampires. Is Trump all in because Trump's read into this and because Trump is wanting to seek revenge on vampires too? So many incredible comms in that movie, and that's just yet another one of them. And then at the end of the movie, there's a map of America, and it's all about bloodlines, right? So the borders are all being drawn with bloodlines, and that it's a history made in blood. But history remembers the battle and not the blood, and so we forget the children that are taken in all of these wars.
That's the spell that's been put over us, is that we do forget the blood. We forget why they're doing this. We're under a spell.
Okay, just two more things, and then we're gonna transition. But these are really powerful things here. The film was made in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. Are you kidding me? It's frickin' drinking blood center in the United States, and center of the vampire hold in America is New Orleans, and in particular a place like Jefferson Parish. And so they got a film grant to make the film. You gotta love this. You gotta love this. Tells you a lot about the Q team, and I would say about John F. Kennedy Jr. It says a lot. Where else was the movie made? And this was, I think, just using technology. Some of these computer enhancement teams, Quebec as well. Quebec is the absolute center in Canada for child trafficking, and Quebec has been run for a long time by very evil, demonic French families that go way back. They're vampires that rule Quebec. And so the film is made in Louisiana and Quebec. There's no coincidences. There's no coincidences. So they made this on the enemy's turf as well, and they point out, maybe they got grants from some other places. They didn't say. They just said that they got grants to make. You see the comm that's being sent here, and what they're saying. We got the demons to fund this film, showing you who these demons are. A little turnaround is fair play. Yeah. Okay, and finally, what's the symbol for silver? AG. A is 1, G is 7. And I was talking about this the other day, and I saw in the chat earlier that Eugene was already showing that in the chat. So AG silver is 1-7, which is 17. Sorry, what's this team called that's taking down the cabal? The Q team? What letter in the alphabet what number is the letter Q in the alphabet? 17? 17 is the marker for silver, okay? And 1 plus 7 is 8, which is the magnetic scalar wave. And what are we moving into? A future of magnetism. Nikola Tesla, magnetism. Wow, this is powerful, powerful stuff. The symbol for silver is 17. And now the Q team is going out of their way to tell you to buy silver. And they're just telling you all these things about silver, 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 silver. That's why, folks, we've been fighting vampires from day one. And it's good versus evil. And it always has been. It always has been. We have to be all in. That's why Justin is the way he is, why we are the way we are. You have to be all in when you're fighting pure evil. That's what the vampires are. What's the symbol for gold? Anyone? AU. A is 1, U is 21. Now, it works two ways. Just like we did, 1, 7 is 17, and 1 plus 7 is 8. So with silver, 1 and 21 is 121. And it's also 1 and 21. So
1 plus 21.
what 1 plus 21? What's 121? It's a kind of a weird number because it's not really divisible by anything. But there's one number. There's one number multiplied by itself that adds up to 121. It hit me right away because it's a very, and all these numbers, you study
I
numbers,
think we did a podcast on it. actually.
121 kind of stands alone, and 11 times 11 is 121. And the symbol for gold is AU. Let me get into the screen here. 11, 11. What do they always depict the Ark of the Covenant? In gold. Inside Solomon's temple, read 1 Kings, it's gold. It's gold. There's gold everywhere. 11, 11. That's Solomon's temple, and inside is gold. Melatonin is pineal, and that is gold. Pituitary gland is serotonin, and silver, serotonin is the silver, and that is the milk versus the honey, and they all tie together. So there is no mistake. There's no accident. There is only genius in this elegant design of God's creation. AG silver 17, the Q team 17. They're fighting vampires, and the answer ultimately is gold 11, 11, and that's in the temple.
And you know
That's
who's been
your
destroying the vampires are the military Q team.
Incredible. Hey,
While
hey,
we may
hey,
be
folks.
digital soldiers, they're the boots on the ground doing the dirty work,
Yeah.
taking these monsters down.
Okay, so I want to pass it over to Justin to comment on any of those things before we transition. We're going to transition into the four men and how I piece them together. But Justin, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to add. It's pretty mind-blowing with the numbers of gold and silver and just how it's all so perfect. It's all so biblical and it fits together. And that's how you know it's the truth, because the truth is simple, then truth fits together. The lies have to be pieced together and strung together by all sorts of garbage, and they don't ever really fit. It doesn't ever really fit, and there's always some loose end. There's always something that doesn't make sense, but the truth fits because it's God's truth. God is the truth, and so of course it's going to fit. And so the more that we step into this, and the more that we gain clarity and really take a hard look at this, it all just fits. It all just continues to fit and flow, and that's what it's going to be like as this continues to unveil, as this continues to make sense. We're going to have more of the veil lift, all the fog's going to fade away, and all that's going to be left is the truth. So that's about it. That's about all I got to say.
Beautiful, thank you. And Maria, if you missed that, what we were just sort of saying with the elemental representations of silver and gold. Silver is AG, which A is 1 and G is 7, so that's 17, which is the Q team. 17 and silver, it's all about silver. And then gold is 1 and 21. And so if you put 1 and 21, that's 121. And the only thing that is divisible into 121 is created by multiplication is 11 times 11, 11, 11. Gold is 11, 11, 121. So pretty incredible stuff. So
Wow. Beautiful.
yeah. So in the show, they're showing you that this is biblical. In the beginning, it says that God says that I shall, call you Abraham because you are going to be the father of many nations. And then Abraham Lincoln does all of this far more than just for the emancipations of the blacks in the South of America. He's fighting this war for Canada, he's fighting it for every child and every single family on God's good earth. And that's why, in his speeches, he talks so much about the living versus the dead. It's just huge. It's absolutely huge. So Lincoln, and then Lincoln, it's very interesting because, again, Lincoln's speech about talking about the necessity to win the war no matter what, because we have to have a government by the people, of the people, by the people, for the people, so that it does not disappear from the face of the earth. And when I heard that, Hitler said something very similar to that, and that tweaked me right away. And then it's like, oh, wow, because John Kennedy spoke to that. And then it's, wow, Donald Trump spoke to that. And so what they're saying is that what they're doing is trying to keep the living alive, and to have an earth of living people versus these dead vampires. And that's why God is absolutely all in on all of this. Colleen's just pointing out with silver, the atomic mass of silver is 107 107.868 atomic measurement, but 107 in gematria we don't count the 0, so that's 17. So there's another 17 for silver as well.
It's the number.
Just
Yeah.
let me just say one thing real quick before, because I think I'm going to have to adios. When you guys go through and you talk about silver and gold and you add the numbers and then the thing and the Trump and the da-da-da and then Abraham Lincoln and then this and that, for me, it gives me so much, it pulls it all in. And it's really interesting to see how all of this is connected. That gives me so much Godfidence, and that gives me so much comfort to see it all played out like that. So I just want to say, for a lot of these cats that, because there's a lot, but this is the stuff that gets me like, how can you not want to get enrolled in this? Like, how do you not want to subscribe to this channel when there's like just any angle, it's the 360 degrees, it's the holistic truth. Like, I don't get it all, but I love it all. And I'm on it. And I love to like, let it all swim around and squeeze out all the stuff that's not working anymore. But this is what gets me really, really excited about this moment that we're in right now. Because you can't, the 17s are all over the place. The auras, it's beautiful. So I just want to say that real quick and to tell you I'm in, but I'm out. And I'm sorry if it's disruptive, but I got to go do apples and bedtime. So I love you all so much. I'm going to adios. I think it's better. I'll be listening. I love you all so much. Bye for now, friends.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so now, thank you, Marie. And so now, as we transition, Justin, in this, so I was saying to you, again, that speech really tweaked me to these four people. So then now you're looking for further connections. Okay, so the first thing that you get with Adolf Hitler and what he was accomplishing, see, and you just have to read between the lines because no one's gonna hand it to you in this twisted upside down reality. So you have to be able to read between the lines, but so many people from all across this earth came to visit Adolf Hitler. And so many people made public statements. Leaders from all over the world made incredibly beautiful statements about Adolf Hitler because they wanted to come and see firsthand how he was able to do what he was able to do so quickly. And what Hitler told everyone is that you have to get rid of the bankers. You have to get rid of these international Zionist bankers, or what people were calling the Jewish bankers. And Hitler said because it's a fraudulent system and it's debt based, so no matter what, your country slides further into debt. The only one that's doing well would be these agencies that are not federal at all. They're private corporations, and so that's how the few rule the many, is through this debt-based system. So that's what Hitler taught everyone. And remember, the first thing that Hitler did, son of the Rothschilds, and he's the Rothschild. No. Actions speak louder than words. Hitler had no money. They took all of his gold and silver away. He had to make his own currency through an honest day's worth of labor. And his entire system, the first thing that Hitler did is he kicked out all foreign bankers and he revolutionized banking. He outlawed usury, so no interest on loans whatsoever, because it's impossible. You can't put a cost or a charge on the creation of principal, because then there's not enough to pay back the interest on the principal. You just bankrupted an entire nation. It's impossible. You can't do it. That's why usury is considered demonic and satanic, because it goes for your soul. It goes way past your physical. They own you at a level where they literally are owning your soul, and people are taking their lives out of the despair created through this usury-based banking system. That's what's going away. You want to know the biggest secret to Nasara is just, more than anything else, is just getting away, getting rid of what is completely unlawful, illegal, and impossible, which is this debt-based currency system. So that's it. So when you look at Hitler, he had all these people come to him. So now, because of my interest from such a young age with the Kennedy family, I knew that Joe Kennedy reached out to Adolf Hitler on a number of occasions, at least 4 that we know of, and that they became quite close. And it was Joe Kennedy as the American ambassador to the court of St. James, which means he was the American ambassador in the United Kingdom. He was telling Roosevelt, you have nothing to worry about this guy. He's a genius, and he's a very peaceful man. All he's looking to do is to protect his own. America has nothing to fear from this man whatsoever. And that's what he was telling Roosevelt. And it's not just Joe Kennedy. All of these people from all over the earth who came to visit him saw Hitler for what he was, which is a miracle maker and a goodly, godly man. There was just, people were just blown away by the goodliness of what he had created in these beautiful German people. Just pure light, pure light. So what did Hitler do? When you really, really, really look at this, everything he did with the entertainment industry, and controlling that as well, and getting rid of the entire mainstream media was taken down. It was all just redone through Hitler's government. When you look at this, he was slaying vampires. Why? Remember, I showed you some of these, and they're in my movie. This is why. What I did, so like Europa is phenomenal, and The Greatest Story Never Told by Dennis Wise is phenomenal, and they're both very, very long. Mine is just part 1 of 3, but in those 2 hours, it's very, very important because I'm tying everything together holistically, and you're seeing the bigger picture of everything. Just my explanation of the truth of World War One, the transitional period between World War One and World War Two, and the true, growth of, or how Hitler came to power and why he consolidated that power so quickly. You have to act quickly. You have to act quickly. And again, most of you, so many people that love President Trump, you're not aware of what the military had to do before Trump was even a standing president. And we're going to get into that on the show we're going to do with Justin very soon here, by looking at the video of Trump where he grilled Hillary Clinton. That was at the Smith Foundation, in New York, they raised $6 million, and he's at that. So Trump in that meeting, in that gala dinner event to celebrate what they were doing, raising money for the underprivileged. Wow, that's why he's calling it out, because that money just goes to the Clinton Foundation to just get more kids for them. That's what the Clinton Foundation and the Bidens specialized in. Biden is a crime family, and the Biden crime family, that's why you put Hunter Biden on these various boards in countries like the Ukraine or Bosnia and Serbia and whatnot, because these are war-torn areas with very corrupt people. And then all that Hunter Biden is there to do is to ensure that this process of feeding these monsters continues, because it's a steady stream of children, and China is not producing enough because there's so many of these minions that require the blood. That's what they're doing. That's who these people are, and that's what they do. And so so many people reached out to Adolf Hitler. So Joe Kennedy. Now, and the other one was this relationship between Adolf Hitler and Henry Ford. And it's really interesting because of the connections between Henry Ford and Abraham Lincoln, and then Lincoln with the Kennedys. And it's far beyond any coincidence, all the similarities between Abraham Lincoln, senator in 1860, John Kennedy, 1850, and John Kennedy is senator in 1950, and they just mimic president in 1860, John Kennedy president in 1960, and
The secretary's name.
yeah, the secretary for Kennedy was Ms. Lincoln. The secretary for Lincoln was Ms. Kennedy, and
There's like 50 different.
both vice presidents were
Coincidences.
Johnsons, both from Texas, both from the same small town on the border of Texas, I believe, in Louisiana. I'm sorry, but there's no coincidences here, folks. So the good news, like Colleen said, is that you're seeing white hat. You're seeing white hat connections here, not black hat connections. You're seeing white hat. And these are comms.
When we went down the rabbit hole and we discovered that there were all of these horrific things happening, I looked at Charlie and I said, but there has to be some high authorities that are on the good side, right? Like there has to be. Like just looking at the statistics, there has to be some good people at the top of these, like in the military, there has to be some good people in the politics, there has to be these intelligent people who would not let this continue. There has to be. But we didn't know. We didn't see them. We didn't have any idea. And then suddenly, we didn't even really understand that Trump was one of them. And then as it slowly became more disclosed to us, we discovered that absolutely there were white hats at work reversing what the cabal has done. So they've been at work, they've been making movies, they've been making music, they've been making all sorts of things, right? All over the place.
That's right. And so what Colleen was also going to say, what you then realize is that this isn't just because of what they were doing in China after World War II. No, this has gone on forever. That's why they're all in. That's why there are large groups and agencies of white hats in every country, because this is biblical. This is
Do you
from the
realize
beginning.
where
This
we're
is
at
Cain
right
versus
now?
Abel.
Right
and
now.
we're on the brink of destruction because the vampires were literally looking to extinguish the living. And you know, that's the significance, and that's how you know the White Hats made the Matrix movie. Remember the scene where Neo wakes up back in his pod, okay? And essentially he's hooked up to become electricity for these computers. That is an allegory for left brain people, right? So the computers are ruling the world. No, 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 no. It's an allegory for left brain people who are facts, figures, and logic computers. That's the allegory. And they're using us as a source of food and energy. And that's why those kids were all hooked up in these little pods. So when the Georgia Guidestones talk about the necessity to take the population from 7 billion from a 7 billion down to 500 million, the 500 million are not workers. They have the technology that they don't need workers anymore. Just trust me, that all exists. The 500 million are children in pods, and then some teenage girls, so that the supply never runs short. So you have, that's why Q says it's bigger than you can imagine, because it was going to wipe us out forever. And the thing is that what you're seeing now in 2020 playing itself out is literally Cain attempting to complete what he tried to do in the beginning when God interrupted his plan and kicked him east of Eden. Which east is west, and the west of the Holy Land is Phoenicia on the rolling hills of the Mediterranean. That's it. Those are the Canaanites. The Phoenicians became the Venetians, who are the Cabal, and they are the Canaanites of the left brain. And this is biblical, and it goes right back to Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel. And this has gone on forever. So yes, there are goodly, godly people in the white hats have been at this for a long time. And so then the connection. So like I said, the connection to then led me to Henry Ford. And then you do some research on Henry Ford. Henry Ford's favorite president was Abraham Lincoln. Henry Ford wrote a book. Most people don't know this. Henry Ford wrote an amazing book about how the Jews had taken over the world through this fake currency system under the guise of the Zionist cause. And so the mainstream just ripped Henry Ford for being, a racist pig and all the rest of it and stuff. No, that's Henry Ford risking his entire name, his entire fortune. That's Henry Ford putting all the chips on the table and saying, this is about God and the devil. This is about good versus evil, and I have to be all in. And that's what Henry Ford was doing. He wrote this book to show the world that Freemasonry was the vehicle for these Zionists and their fake banking system to be able to control the entire world, all of it. And that was that's Henry Ford. That's Henry Ford. Then Henry Ford went out of his way to reach out to Adolf Hitler. And Henry Ford helped Adolf Hitler and the Germans in so many ways. And he basically turned their armament system to be able to defend themselves into state-of-the-art, absolute state-of-the-art, so that the Germans were making better weapons faster and better than anybody else. And that's Henry Ford. That's why in Hitler's office, behind Hitler's desk, was a life-size portrait of Henry Ford, whose favorite president is Abraham Lincoln. who writes a book about the fake Jews, the Zionists, who are attempting to control the entire world through their fake banking system. Am I piecing together some pieces of the puzzle for you here? Henry Ford. Henry Ford connects Hitler to Lincoln. So what did Henry Ford, what did a lot of people who went and visited Adolf Hitler, what were they telling him? You have to know the whole world is against you. So I started to say it and then I didn't finish it. Let me finish it here. In my 2-hour, this is just one of 3 documentary about Adolf Hitler. Remember, I'm showing you images of real quotes. So this is late 1932, and the head of the World Zionist Organization, after Hitler becomes Chancellor for Life of Germany. This is in late 32. They haven't done anything. He hasn't done anything at all. And he's calling for, okay, I provide you all of the documentation as to where it is, what page it's on, everything. In late 32, the head of this World Zionist Organization is saying, this must mean for us the entire utter annihilation of Germany down to the last man, woman, and child. Now, sorry, where does that come from? Where does that insane hatred come from? Because Hitler is a vampire slayer, and these are vampires going under the guise of Zionist Jews and businessmen and international corporations. They're vampires. It's how the vampires network with one another.
Oh, and this is where this false idea of shape-shifting reptilians comes into play, because they are shape-shifting. They change their name, they change their identity, they find whatever is convenient to play a part in, whatever way that they can slide in and be under the radar and do whatever they have to do.
They use the Trojan horse for everything.
Yeah, because they're cowards. They're cowards. They know they can't stand up to, they know they can't confront head on the children of Abel. They know they can't confront head on God. So they have to do it in these secretive, slimy, backstabbing kind of ways. And so, a lot of people have issues with this labeling of the Zionists and the Jews and things like that, but they were using that as a scapegoat, and they still have used that as a scapegoat to hide their identity and to say, oh, you can't say those sorts of things. We're going to make it illegal. You just hate the Jews, all sorts of things. Bullshit. Like, I love Jews. I am a Jew. I am a Jew. But those are not Jews. Those are Satanists. Those are Phoenicians. Those are
And
Canaanites.
Jesus says that in the Bible. Jesus said that powerfully in the book of Matthew, and he starts off, and then within Revelation, it's relating to what Jesus said in Matthew to the exact same thing. It's saying the exact same thing in the first few verses within the book of Revelation as well. That it is those calling themselves as Jews, but they're not Jews. The Bible talks about this because it's the same story. It's the same one story with the same enemies. So you begin to look at this, and there's the tie-in. There's the tie-in. So now that takes us to Kevin Costner's movie, and The Postman, and the young beautiful black gentleman who becomes the first lieutenant of the new resurrected post office, American Post Office. He takes a new name. What's his new name? My name is Ford Mercury Lincoln. That's a weird name. That's a weird name for somebody to use. And then, in the movie, Kevin Costner, who directed it as well, takes the shot to the car dealership, and it's Ford Mercury Lincoln. So it's interesting, hey, that Henry Ford's car line, from beginning to the high end, was Ford Lincoln, Ford Mercury Lincoln. Ford Mercury Lincoln. We don't have time tonight to go into the Mercury aspect to this, which is very powerful, but Ford and then Lincoln is the pinnacle of Henry Ford's cars because he was such an admirer of a man larger than life, Abraham Lincoln. Ford Lincoln. Ford Mercury Lincoln. And then in the Kevin Costner movie The Postman, which is taking back control of your own country that stood for something, of the people. That's what the whole movie is. Of the people, by the people, for the people. And the first lieutenant of the post office his name is Ford Mercury Lincoln. There's no coincidences. No, there are no coincidences. They're showing you these are comms, and that's piecing all of this together. It's piecing all of this together, and it ties Donald J. Trump into all of this as well. So with Hitler, you have Joe Kennedy and you have Henry Ford. Henry Ford powerfully tied into his favorite president, Abraham Lincoln. And then you get this crossover into the John F. Kennedy presidency. And his victory was considered to be, no small miracle, because the Republicans were the predominant party, and Nixon had been Eisenhower's vice president for 8 years, and he sort of specialized in foreign policy and relationship with the Russians, and things were getting more and more. The Cold War was becoming scarier and scarier, and so the obvious choice for a safe America was Richard Nixon, but he didn't win. Everybody was sure Nixon would win, but John Kennedy miraculously won. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? That's Hillary Clinton. That's Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump. And everyone was sure that she was going to win. She made such a logical candidate. And she was Barack Obama's Secretary of State. Such a logical choice, in an upside down world. Hillary, she's not really a woman, she's more of a man. Anyway, she's tough. And so it's a good choice for America. They were certain she was going to win. And Trump won. The same way that somehow Kennedy won. The same way somehow Abraham Lincoln, who came out of nowhere, won. So whether these are the white hats helping to make this happen, or this is God intervention, is really a moot point. The fact is, these miracles occurred to bring these people into power. And then we all know with the documents that are being released now about John Kennedy and all his major speeches, the American University speech, then the Secret Society speech, and then the UN speech. He talked about this, and John Kennedy working with Khrushchev in secret channels, where John Kennedy had to send his friends to go meet in secret Khrushchev, because he was being spied on so badly by his own government. Were spying because they all work for the cabal. And so, just so you know this, Kennedy's friends had to fly out of small airports in America to Mexico City. And the reason is because Mexico City is such a massive airport, it just has hubs everywhere. And then you can get into a disguise, and you can go to one of the myriads of gates and enter a flight that will take you to here, to there, and eventually to Moscow. And that's how Bobby and Jack Kennedy had to get their personal friends to go talk to Khrushchev. And Kennedy and Khrushchev were working together. We know this because of the things that Khrushchev's son has now released. And one of the things that is undeniable was that Kennedy had told NASA to prepare yourself for full disclosure and working in union with the Russian Space Force. So that one of the policies of Kennedy was that NASA was going to merge into a world space agency with the Russians. Now, why would you do this?
And isn't it interesting
Because
that
there's a firmament.
isn't it interesting that we also see Trump working with Russia?
Yes, Putin and the connection with Russia. And again, as I laid out with Justin just last week, why did, and it's a good time to segue into it anyway. So when the West declared war on Adolf Hitler, all for Hitler just having to rescue Germans that are being slaughtered, that were parts of Germany that were illegally taken away from Germany for no reason by the Dulles brothers in the Treaty of Versailles at the end of World War I. They label Hitler as the bad guy, convince the world through the newspapers that he's the bad guy, and they all declare war on Hitler. Then within 6 weeks, Hitler pretty much conquers all of Western Europe, and he's in full charge because he's wearing God's armor. Sorry, but that's the truth. And that's exactly what happened. And then Hitler had a non-aggression pact signed with Stalin in the Soviet Union. So, and the Soviet Union was in, I've done a lot of research into this, they were in total disarray. They were not going to be able to invade anyone, let alone the might of the German military. So Hitler had nothing to worry about. Then Hitler does the unthinkable with the entire world fighting him, which he's won. It's static at the moment, but he's got the entire world declaring war on him in the West. Hitler ups and opens a second front in the largest country on earth geographically, in Russia, and it's insanity. It's absolute insanity. And there's nothing insane about Adolf Hitler. It's truth. There's nothing insane. A very, very intelligent man, a very well thought and well thought out.
Who didn't really want to be at war.
Who didn't want to be at war. And he had no interest. He let the British soldiers escape at Dunkirk because he had no interest in killing his brethren.
But he did have righteousness, and he went to war with the Phoenicians, with
what was
the
Russia?
Canaanites.
With the Russian Revolution is nothing more. You've been lied to about everything. The Russian Revolution is just the Phoenicians conquering, getting rid of the pesky Tartarians in the form of the Romanov dynasty, the White Russians, that's what they were called, the White Russians, with this loyal military in Russia, and they got rid of them, and they replaced them with the scum of the earth. And you look at all of these people like Lenin and Trotsky and all the big people that were in this burgeoning new USSR government. They were all absolute Jesuits. They were all just absolute demons. They were Jesuits, and they were all given the highest.
Look at the fruits of their labor, and you know who they were.
Absolutely, and so Adolf Hitler did just an insane act because he declared war on vampires. He did. He absolutely did. And like I was saying to Justin, why did Hitler feel this need in this first front? He didn't declare war until June. I think it was June 18th. In 40 against Stalin and the USSR, and he felt very strongly that their war machine, it's a massive distance to Moscow, but they could get to Moscow before the winter set in. And they almost did. Remember when the German tanks ran out of fuel and got ice locked into the frozen tundra, they could see the spires of Moscow's downtown. They were between 20 and 25 miles from the downtown of Moscow. And remember, when Hitler invaded the USSR, all of these first countries like Lithuania and Estonia or the Ukraine, they all greeted Hitler and the Germans as their rescuers. Absolutely, as their rescuers. Why? And like I told you, the stories that my Nana from the Ukraine taught us and that's why they moved, is because very similar to what the black woman was saying in the Abraham Lincoln movie, are kids going missing. Some say demons, some say ghosts, some say ghouls, but are children going missing and stuff. And very, very similar to Nana, just she was saying unexplained things, and they just needed to leave. And that's all after these Phoenicians took over Russia and turned it into hell on earth. And that's why their flag was just blood red, because that's what Russia
They
was.
needed a fresh crop,
Fresh crop of
a
all
lot of
those
mouths to feed.
beautiful. And then that's what Siberia is all about. And these gulags in Siberia, what a bunch of bull. Sure, maybe they did send some people out there and stuff, but these were processing centers for children. Don't kid yourselves. This is a massive, massive program to feed an entire world of vampires. And they went to Russia. Hitler did a crazy thing, a tactically odd thing to do for a very brilliant man, and declared war because it's the right thing to do. Because it was the right thing to do. And remember, when you look at the transcripts post-war, when the Allies were talking to the German soldiers, the Germans were shocked that they were being called monsters, and that they were being called Holocausters and stuff. They didn't know any of these things had ever gone on at all, because they didn't go on. And they all thought that they would be treated like the way General Patton treated the Germans. What did Patton say? We fought the wrong enemy in World War II. And he said Patton's role, until he was kicked out of there by the Phoenicians because he was making too many waves, that they were under orders not to have any Nazis in their post-war governments. And Patton's entire post-war government was being run by these same officers that were helping to run Hitler's government. And you into private documents for these are very difficult, and they budgeted now as well. But if you could, like I did, then you read what Patton was saying. Wow, Patton's just saying that the Russians are monsters. This is hell on earth. Hitler had it all right. We attacked the exact wrong enemy. Apparently Patton was saying this during the war as well, that we're destroying the allies that we're going to need to be able to attack the real enemy when the war is over. You're asking me to kill the very same people that are going to have to become our allies to take down the Russians. Then Patton was saying this is insanity. That's why Patton was passed over for promotion again and again and again. And that's why Eisenhower went from nobody to the supreme reigning commander of all the Allied armies, because he was a stooge for the cabal, for the Phoenicians. And that's how this played out. You read what Patton was saying, and he was saying, and what Patton said in his post-war ruling over East Berlin and the lands of Germany right up against where the Russians claimed, or the USSR claimed German territory. Patton said, I haven't found any evidence that Hitler or the Germans were bad or monstrous or any way. That he said that's the Russian army. That's the Russian army. That's what Patton was saying. And then Patton was almost killed in a freak accident. Patton was almost killed, and then he was relieved of command. And that was it. End of story for Patton when he sided with Adolf Hitler. And again, that's the truth. Whether you like that or not, that's the truth. Okay, so General Patton, go ahead.
Well, and I don't want to skip and or derail the line, but and we can cover this another time. But I was curious about the truth behind Project Paperclip and how that kind of, because we're taught a lot about that as being, a way that they commandeered a lot of technology, and they took all the evil scientists from Germany and whatever else. So like what's the reality behind that one?
But who did it? So Operation Paperclip is from the newly formed agency. What three-letter agency was Operation Paperclip from? A newly formed agency.
CIA.
CIA. CIA is Cabal Industry Allied, right? So CIA is the Cabal. MI5, MI6 is the Cabal. The Mossad is the Cabal. The Mossad is CIA. CIA is the Mossad. MI5, MI6 is the Mossad. They're all one big fraternity
One big
of
unhappy
Jesuits
family.
that report only to their Kabbalistic masters. They report to the Phoenicians. That's all it was. So what's Operation Paperclip? That's a lie told you by the biggest effing liars on the world. And of course now everybody knows how evil the CIA is, and John Kennedy needed to scatter it, break it into 1,000
In fact,
pieces
they've
and
taken
scatter
the
it
I
to the
out of
wind.
it, and it's just CA.
Yeah, because there's no
no
intelligence.
intelligence.
There's no intelligence in this agency, so it's just CA, and so they're lying to you. So what the true story, Justin, about Operation Paperclip is that they forced at gunpoint by threatening to kill all of their families, women and children, and they forced these goodly, godly German scientists to work for the real Nazis, which are the Phoenicians who are running America at this point, right? Roosevelt, General Eisenhower, who became president after the war. Harry Truman, just for a short stint, and Truman wouldn't play ball, and then Truman's out, and it's Eisenhower. So this young colonel who suddenly becomes a general, who's then the supreme Allied commander of the entire world in this most important of wars against this most evil of people, and it's this Eisenhower. And then Eisenhower becomes president of the United States for 8 years. And who ran his government? John Foster Dulles. John Foster Dulles and Allen Dulles, who were both lawyers who worked for the most Kabbalistic and evil Wall Street investment banking firm. I just forgot the name of it, but it was J.P. Morgan's bank.
Chase.
They wrote Chase Manhattan. They wrote the Treaty of Versailles. The two Dulles brothers, John Foster Dulles and Allen Dulles. Small world, isn't it? It's a small world. And their tutelage, their little helper that they turned into a monster, their little helper for the Dulles brothers was Henry Kissinger. It's a small world
And
after
his
all.
whole modum operandum was to turn everything into a lie that
Yep.
we believed.
Yeah. So John Foster Dulles ran Eisenhower's presidency for 8 years while Eisenhower slept in terror. And who was appointed as the first director of the CIA in 47? Allen Dulles. So the two Dulles brothers, who are evil beyond description, just ran America. One's the head of the CIA, this new CIA, and the other is running the government. And that's the truth. And then Operation Paperclip is these monsters in the CIA putting guns to the head of the wives and children of these German scientists, saying, you come and work for us and pretend that the earth, because remember what Hitler was working on, like the what they called Nazis, the National Socialist bell, is magnetism, was Tesla, was scalar waves, and these were not aggressive weapons. These were defensive. The National Socialist, the German bell, what they call the Nazi bell, was this electromagnetic field that would repulse rockets or aircraft from flying over German airspace.
Yeah,
Wow, gonna take over the world.
just check out the Battle of Los Angeles if you want to look into that, where they use this craft to fly over Los Angeles, or was it San Francisco? It was Los Angeles, right? I'm pretty sure.
I remember Los Angeles, yeah.
Yeah, and they had these craft just flying there, and they opened fire on them with everything they had, and these craft are just sitting there fine. They don't fire back. They're just sitting there, and then they fly away because that's what
I've not heard that.
these Tesla technology bells, they create this field around them when they're flying, and that just repels any projectiles.
It's
So
like the firmament.
It's like
Mhm.
Neo.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. And imagine if we all had craft like this. You can't even crash them. You can't even run into anything. You can't even hurt yourself. You're in this giant
Is yet
bubble,
to come.
and you can fly at impossible speeds and go anywhere, and you can't hurt yourself or anyone else. So,
And just through magnets, there's never ever need for any car crash. There's no need for it. There's never once would there ever be a car crash if they just simply utilize magnets in the front and back of cars. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. You can't.
And all of these things will come from Kind Man now.
Yeah.
All of these things will be implemented for us.
Yeah. And like Ghost Ezra is saying with maglev, why do you think that this is so incredible or difficult to believe in stuff? He's saying the Earth is a magnet. So yeah, rails. Where we're going, we don't need roads. We don't need roads. Yeah, maglev. Back to the Future, right? Doc and Back to the Future, where we're going, roads. There's no roads.
A couple of years
Yeah.
ago, we sold our car, and so we just have a little,
We got the Moto
A
and the
mo-
Quadrimoto.
right. We got a gift from Tony actually, which was a
And-
Moto.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, Tony.
Yes, thank you so much. And Charlie says he's never going to get a car again until the flying car comes out. And I'm like, oh, I'm never going to be able to. And I'm like, wait, now? We don't have so long to wait. I don't
right.
think. I
right.
don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that, but I did, and I said we're not. If the next car that we get will be a flying car, we're not getting a car because I'm done with all of this BS and
No more
tires
rubber
and-
hitting the
That's just
hitting the
ridiculous.
road.
It's just
car
all ridiculous.
insurance.
Car insurance. The entire insurance industry is a complete
It's a scam.
complete hoax. Just a complete hoax. More stress, take more money away from you, and they laugh and they laugh and they laugh and they laugh. So this is the truth about Adolf Hitler, and this is what he did. And so Operation Paperclip is these demons under Alan Dulles and the CAA putting guns to the heads of the women and children of these scientists, saying, you work for us, or in front of you we'll blow their brains out. And that's what they did. So this is why Werner von Braun, when he finally passed away, what was written on his gravestone, right?
It's just a
Passage
huge
in the Book
troll.
of Psalms. Yep, that and God showeth His handiwork when He stretched forth the firmament. There's no space, folks, and that's the director of NASA, who was a good man, not a monster. No, they're lying to you. Sorry, that's how it works. The demons took over after everything that Abraham Lincoln did. The demons took over America. America is on the wrong side of World War II. It's awful. And all of you know enough about Pearl Harbor now to know that virtually every single country in the world warned Roosevelt and the Americans that the entire Japanese fleet was headed towards them. Didn't do a thing. Let all those people die because they don't matter. But he was under orders to make sure that America got into the war. So with the Lusitania in World War I, you've been used for such a long time. And the Titanic, who conveniently just happened to be on board the Titanic and died when the fake Titanic, the sister ship of because listen, if you're going to scam the world, let's do it with a ship that's got serious problems, not a brand new one that we just put all of our money into. No, let's switch them up so we can just keep making some good coin on all of this. It's just wow. So Operation Paperclip, bullshit. And this is what you get with and I like a lot of what Jason Q does and different people like this. But once again, they're lazy and they're sloppy because they take for granted certain axioms and everybody in the truth community does this. So aliens exist. Why? I don't know, because that's the basis to the truth community. It all comes from Coast to Coast Radio, which is created by the Rockefellers, eventually owned by the Bush family.
Not
It's just-
realizing that the alternative media was actually one of the disinformation
that's right. Coast
propaganda
to Coast Radio brought it
tools.
to life.
tools, and we bought into it because we're all just like, it's against the government and
Yeah.
it's anti this and anti that. So
Yeah.
people bought into it.
Yep.
And we get it, but now you have to wake up to that.
So it's you know, there's no God because we were cavemen until the Anunnaki, which literally means God and the sacred feminine mother. It means, you know, sun and the moon, and masculine and feminine, and wow. But these are, you know, 6-ton, 18-foot aliens that are just incredible surgeons, geneticists. And what they love to do is eat the men, rape the women, and then genetically alter the children. And that's our history. And everybody knows that. Charlie, you know, when you deny
really
this
like
stuff,
gold,
you're
too. They
you're
really like gold.
they really like gold. When you deny this stuff, Charlie, you're just out to lunch. Of course there's 6-ton, 18-foot lizards that are brilliant genetic scientists, and they, what the fuck?
Well, you just have to ask Simon Parks.
What the, wow. And then suddenly out of all of this, I mean, people are just laughing and suddenly Charlie Ward, Simon Parks, and Robert David Steele, who's with the CIA, are the three wise men. They're going to lead the way. How do you run? Just put your head out of run.
Like Q says, be careful who you follow.
Wow.
Use your common sense. Hear their words.
So just lies, just absolutely lies. That's what Operation Paperclip is the Phoenicians forcing the Germans to work for them. And then how do we know this? Proof is in the pudding. Just, you know, with what Kennedy did with Khrushchev and merging the two space programs, because there's no space. Kennedy knew that there's no space, and then bringing the two agencies together. This is how you break down the space lie, and you have now allies working together. I mean, it's just brilliant. It's brilliant on Kennedy's part. And then of course when Werner von Braun passes away, you know, it's Psalm 19:1, and it's God showeth his handiwork when he stretched forth the heavens as the firmament. So it's just all there. Okay, so the next connection is then how do we make the leap to John Kennedy? It's so easy. It's so easy because we just showed you all the key players that are tied to this: Henry Ford, and of course John Kennedy, or Joe Kennedy himself. And remember, John Kennedy, who became the eldest when Joe Kennedy was murdered by the cabal illegally, just horrifically at the end of the war, John Kennedy became the eldest son and the heir to the Kennedy political dynasty moving forward, or the head of what needed to happen. And remember, everyone who ever met Joe Kennedy Jr. raved and just listened to the words of John Kennedy and just said he was 1,000 times the man that I was. Everybody raved about Joe Kennedy Jr. as he was a true leader, a giant among men, and he was always meant to be this you know, next president of the United States, Joe Kennedy. And they had to kill that guy, or hopefully he was John Galted. We'll see. We'll find out. We'll find out the breadth of all of this. But Joe Kennedy made, and this is not easy to do, Joe Kennedy made arrangements in the weeks after World War II for John Kennedy to be able to tour a 6-week tour of post-war Germany. And he kept a journal, and some of the things from that journal have been published. And I've posted many of the comments that he wrote during that time. And what John Kennedy said is that clearly in the future, people will come to see that Adolf Hitler was not a monster, but one of the best and most important people, and was doing miraculous things in Germany. The future will tell a completely different story about Adolf Hitler, and that's John F. Kennedy, who then becomes president, who's then tied into all of this and is murdered in Dallas 11/22/33. Freemason numbers, and everyone in his government was against him. So it was just he and Bobby, and having to work with the core group of their own friends. And that's the role Kevin Costner plays in the movie 13 Days, one of John Kennedy's close childhood friends. And Kenny O'Donnell was his chief advisor in the White House, and a person that they could trust. And that's how Jack and Bob Kennedy had to run the U.S. government, in a tight knit group of their friends. And then the subterfuge that they had to be able to connect with Castro and to be able to connect with Khrushchev was just incredible. It's just staggering, and it just shows you who had the real power and how little power Kennedy had in the United States. Are there connections to the Kennedys and Donald Trump? Come on, it's so overwhelming. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this, right? And what's the first thing? One of the first things that Trump did in his new presidency in 2017 is he made Robert Kennedy Jr. his chief advisor for vaccines and for disease control. And Robert Kennedy and held the role for a little while, and he told the world and Donald Trump everything. Vaccines, I'm in favor. Robert Kennedy says, I'm in favor of a vaccine if it works. I haven't found one that works yet, but if it's provably safe and actually helps, then by all means. And then people hate Robert Kennedy. So on one hand, Robert Kennedy Jr. is hated because he's saying that these vaccines are bad and these companies are pure evil.
Trump's been pushing hydroxychloroquine for a reason.
Yeah. That's why he got the COVID. He and Melania got the COVID, and then was 3 days later it was a miracle, and it's hydroxychloroquine. Come on. And so Robert Kennedy Jr. was hated by the people who were asleep because he was a conspiracy theorist and saying all these horrible things about vaccines and pharmaceutical companies. And then the truth community hates Robert Kennedy Jr. because Robert Kennedy Jr., while he's saying all these things, that these vaccine companies are pure evil and that these vaccines are causing all of the problems in our children, they hate him because he says, no, I'm in favor of vaccines. And what the truth community just fails to do, they can read one sentence, but I guess not two, is to be able to look at this and go, oh, well, what he's saying is I'll support a vaccine if it actually works. If it's provable that it actually works, then I would be for vaccines if they actually work. And he's hated by everyone because nobody wants to read two sentences and piece them together. I read one sentence and it tells me all I need to know: bad guy, bad guy, bad guy. It's incredible. So the connections between the Kennedys to Donald Trump are overwhelming. And there you have it. And there you have this group around the world that has stood up for God, has stood up for mankind, and has fought this war of good versus evil. Look at what's happened to them. Look at Lincoln, what happened? Look at Hitler, what happened? Look at Kennedy, what happened? And look at what Donald Trump has had to go through. Piece it together. Come on, you can do this. All of it. Piece it together. They are hated. Those people are hated. Why? Because they tried to bring the vampires down. That's why. Because the media is vampires. Because the entire system is just filled now with vampires.
And they're going to bring the gold and silver standard back.
And they want to bring gold and silver back. They want to put silver in everybody's house. They want everyone to be carrying around, buy silver, have silver everywhere. And then there's no place for these vampires to run. And it only works if it works in every single country. So don't worry if you live in Uganda. There's going to be plenty of Nasara. There's going to be plenty of silver in Uganda. You bet.
Because where we go one.
Because where we go one, we go all, my friends. Because we're either going to live with God as the God of the living, or we're going to die. all of us are going to die, and the demons who are the dead will rule this perfect creation,
Yeah.
all because God gave us free will, and we have fallen, and
So
we have to rise.
that's why this is all so important for bringing back everyone from the spell that we've been under. We can't leave huge pockets of people asleep. It just won't work anymore.
Now, if I can, we won't get into this, but I'd love to hear Justin's thoughts on all of this. But this as well, in my opinion, this ties Jesus Christ into the same group as well. Because I think very powerfully, this is what Jesus was teaching as well. And Jesus was telling us in plain sight who these demons are, how horrific they were, and the lengths of what they were willing and prepared to go to. And it's this one story. There's this one enemy, and he knew, and he's on the side, and that's why all of those people are powerfully on the side of Jesus Christ, of God, of Mother Mary, Mary Todd, Abraham Lincoln, Mary and Abraham. They're all on the right side of this, folks, and they're working, fighting for all of us, not just Americans, not just North Americans, everyone. Where we go one, we go all. And wow.
Yeah, I mean, the similarities are powerful in the sense that you've got the entire establishment out to get the one who stands up and does the right thing and says no, and says, I'm not standing for this. I'm not putting up with it. I don't care what it does to me. I don't care if you kill my physical body. I don't care what you do. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do the right thing. And that's what we have to be prepared to do. Like this is the one story, the hero's journey. We have to be willing to let go of all fears and say, I'm going to do the right thing no matter what. And that's what Jesus so powerfully did. And that's what all of these incredible beings so powerfully did. And time and again, with the amount that our history has been distorted, who knows how many times people have risen up and done this exact same thing and said no, to fuck you to the powers that be, and said we're not going to take it. I'm sure it's happened over and over and over again, but this is the time now where it's all shifting, where we're all going to stand up and say no powerfully, where it's all going to shift, and we're all going to shine our Christed light and to do this journey and to do this path. And that's what this movie and this plan and how this is playing out is setting us all up to step into, is giving us this opportunity to say, to embody Jesus Christ and say, I am going to stand up. I am going to do the right thing. I have no fear. And in whatever capacity that fits you. And it's not to compare yourself to others and say, oh, well, I'm not doing enough, or, what can I do from my frame of reference or how I come across. God's showing you in each and every single moment where you can do the right thing. Everything that you do, anytime we're confronted with any sort of cabal, like Canaanite, just filth, any sort of lie, deception, any form of atrocity, any form of just darkness that pervades, this is where we have to make our stand and clearly get on the right side of it. And the more of us that do that, the quicker we can move about and move past this filth and get on the other side, because that's all we want. And it's time. The clock is shifting. And it is absolutely time. But yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly that the similarities between Jesus Christ and these individuals are absolutely uncanny. And yeah, it's the one story. It's just over and over again. But yeah, it's a lot. It's fun to uncover. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
These movies are the little these albums and these movies that do manage to make their way the way out through all of this encoding are just absolute gems, because we're surrounded by lies and just crap, horribly done stuff, and then just utter lies. And and again, look at, they create these false good guys like Tom Hanks, and then just look at all the roles that Tom Hanks has played. Where have they placed Tom Hanks? Where have they placed Tom Hanks? Everywhere they need credibility to hold up the sagging end of their lies. And then that's what they do. They rush these certain figures that they make to look good people, Oprah Winfrey, and they just rush them into these areas that are beginning to fall apart, because that's all their lies ever do. They continually fall apart.
But there's been truth in plain sight everywhere as well. So while we've been under the spell, the truth has been, and God would never hide the truth. It's all there for us. Just have to look in the eyes of your loved ones. Unless they're under the spell.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed that, and the connective whole, and then the significance of AG and AU, and how everything ties in. It is, and again, at the end of the day, everyone is working for our victory. If we stand up and fight, we're not going to lose. It is daunting because of who and what we're dealing with. And I left it for the end, so I'll briefly touch upon this. But there is a right way to do this adrenochroming process, and there's a wrong way. Now, the Johnny Depps of the world and these minions, they're all taught the wrong way. Remember, the cabal are such disgusting individuals. They can't stand anyone that works for them. What they prefer much more are people that stand up against them. They just can't let them live. You can't, they admire and respect those that stand tall and true. They just can't let them live, because it's bad for business. But they respect those that do. They can't stand their minions, because their minions are just worms that have crawled for scraps off of the table. So it makes perfect sense to me that they would teach these minions, like the Clintons, the wrong protocols. And they know what happens. And so the thing that I think the cabal loves so much is that their minions do all of these games in the system that they've created to allow the minions to run amok, and they make all of this money, and then their health and pain that they suffer from is so egregious in the back half of their life. They spend every last cent of their fortunes on trying to ease the pain or trying to heal what it is that they're suffering from, because they're not let in on the secrets. So the question then becomes, if there is a wrong way, therefore there must be a right way to do this taking heaven by force process. And that clearly, because of the vampire legends, and they're all the same, every country, they all are focusing on these same sort of principles. And it's the superhuman strength. And when you talk to some of these people who know, and when you look at the symbology in and around adrenochrome, like Buzz Lightyear, they say that the taking of the substance is so powerful that it is the greatest buzz of all, and that it lasts a light year. It lasts for a long time. And then that's why in movies like
Fear and Loathing.
Fear and Loathing. But the one I was thinking of was with Bruce Willis with Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep, and that was Death Becomes Her. Death Becomes Her. And they're showing you the adrenochrome in an absolute plain sight.
That's another movie that if you want to see it,
it's very powerful to watch. I mean, I can't stand these people at all to watch them. It's just brutal. But what it shows is that when you do this process incorrectly, what did those ladies who kept living and living and they kept looking young, they were just
Literally falling apart.
they were glass houses, and that, remember at the end when they were fighting over each other and they fell, they shattered into pieces because there's nothing left inside of them. It's pure
But it's
darkness.
also an allegory because they're probably working for the CIA, and like JFK said, we're going to shatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces, just like those two women.
Yep.
I hope Goldie Hawn isn't, but I have a feeling.
Oh, I think her and Kurt Russell are absolutely all in with it. So I've seen nothing to sway me in any other direction.
We shall
So
see.
basically Ezra is saying, don't pick favorites in Hollywood and don't pick favorites in Washington D.C., because the amount of people that are good in all of this is very, very, very small.
Right.
Don't pick favorites. Don't pick favorites. Don't choose dates. Don't pick favorites. Just wait. And the reason why for all of this is, once again, is that this is us on the verge of extinction. It's literally. So
It's hard to grasp how huge this really is. This is like, wow.
Yeah, it's
that's what
hard.
we tried to show you.
Yeah, it's hard to see from where we stand. We'll have a better understanding once the curtains fall and we can see it clearly. But for now, we have to trust, and we have to trust that it had to be this way. It has to be this way, and it has to continue playing out in very meticulous, very specific sort of way, so that we don't ever allow this to happen again, and that we all take on the role of being vampire hunters. That's that's the whole point of this movie, is that it pisses us off enough that we all are like, I'm I'm a vampire hunter for the rest of my days. I'm gonna teach my kids to be vampire hunters. I'm gonna teach their kids to be vampire hunters, and we're all gonna be vampire hunters. That's the whole point of this. That's why it has to be so in our face and has to be so clear and evident. And we can't just be told about it. We have to be shown about it, because it has to really invoke that righteous anger and that fire within to take up to pick up the sword and say never again. To coat our weapons with the silver and say, I'm gonna slay all these vampires anytime they come out, anytime they rear their ugly head. And that's allegorical and literal, in a sense. We have to be recognizing when this like spirit of vampire, this spirit of Canaanite, this spirit of just darkness starts to rise forth. And it happens in the smallest and littlest ways. And if we are complacent in those small ways, if we allow lies to be spread in whatever capacity, then we are saying, okay, I'm okay with kids being harvested. Plain and simple. If you if
True.
you if you allow that thing to play out, you are saying, okay, well, I'm down to have that experience once again. I need some more lessons in that. I want my kids to be raped and harvested. So don't allow that shit to happen. Like, take a stand. And I'm looking at even everyone in this community. Like, I would really love to see a little bit more gusto behind people recognizing when people are speaking lies and calling out when this kind of stuff happens, because sometimes I feel like I'm few and far between as far as seeing people call out other people. And it's not to be vindictive. It's not to be angry or judgmental. It's to just do the right thing and say, no, this is a lie. I'm not here to berate you. I'm not here to scold you. I'm not here to whatever. Just call out the lie and say, this is a lie. And we know this is a lie. Stop believing this bullshit. And if you are going to believe this bullshit, then go send it somewhere else, spread it somewhere else, but it's not welcome here. No lies are welcome here. We have to be very clear about that. Um, so let's get into that. Let's really do that.
So true. It's so true.
Yeah. But yeah, this was a fantastic show. I don't know if you got anything else, or you want to go ahead and start wrapping up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just very, very draining, mentally and physically to go over these things. Uh, and so, yeah, I don't have a ton else to share. what we've just, like I said, we just tried to show you that this is monstrous because it's life and death. This is this what this and Q has made that so clear. And so it's so self-serving for Colleen and I to be able to say, you have to be very, very careful about who you listen to in the truth community because, but yeah, go ahead and listen to us, and then we're the only ones you're listening to, and we're the blah 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 blah. So it can come off as very self-serving. The fact of the matter is that in the truth community, wow, I mean, it is so few and far between anyone who's even coming close to what the truth is, and then you have to understand it holistically, and people have no concept that truth could be woven in a holistic fashion. It's just bits and pieces. It's always I found a bit, and that's my I
And
did
there's
my
many
job.
stepping stones. We've used them to get to where we are, and thank you all for them. But it is hard to find this syncretism.
Yeah. So,
True.
Right.
so what we would just remind everyone in that in the year 2020, when everything was on the line, there's one group of truthers that had the war come to their doorstep. That's us, and it's so real to a point where we had Shani and Dante here on two occasions when we were attacked. That's not fun. That is not fun. And so the things that I did, running out and trying to put an end to it and stuff, is because you're just saying no. No, it's not. I'm not putting up with this, and you just do what you need to do. Little Abraham Lincoln, just not thinking, just running with a hatchet, right headlong into vampires. This is what we have to do. Takes that
Yep.
level of courage.
Yep.
Yep. And again, because there's so little truth in the truth community, that means that we have to take that up. I highly encourage anyone who feels that call
Yeah.
to answer it. Please answer that call. If you feel inclined to speak in whatever capacity, just share the truth and be strong in your resolve, and continue to embody this, because the more of us that step forward, the quicker that we can get to this place of truth, and where that's consistent. But we have to be the examples. We really do, because there's not many out there that are doing it. So let's be that. Let's do that. Let's step
Yeah,
forward.
and Justin was there, Marie was there when we reached out to people like Greg and Alpa and others within our community, and we reached out with the same devotion, the same love, the same offers of endless assistance in whatever form that was necessary for them to do the exact same things. We put together a conference call with everyone, and that's why everyone sort of came out with their channels at the same time, and we just said we'll work around the clock. We cared, they took us down, and we're not in any interest in trying to get our subscriber numbers back up before they forget us, and we'll never get back to 150,000, and they take away our Patreon accounts, and we have to quickly. We're not interested in any of those things. We've allowed all of those things to fall away because we don't want to deal with them. So we were just totally prepared to be servants, which is what we've done for Justin and Marie, and Sinead and Siobhan, and we made the same offer to everybody else. The same offer
Aaron's
of
coming
love.
on board though.
Yeah, which is so exciting, and there are just so many great in our community, and that's what we want to do, is continue to nurture you along the way, so that you'll get to that point where you feel comfortable doing it. Just look at Justin and Marie, how good they are at this, and how far they've come, and the value that they're creating and adding to all of this. That can be you too.
Truly.
So April showers.
Brings May flowers.
Yep. And watch out for April 22nd. That's going to be a interesting little show as far as what's being exposed in Maricopa County. So keep an eye on that. But we'll see. let go of those expectations though. Let's not get held to
Yeah.
particulars, and if the
So many
show,
twists. So many
yes,
twists.
if the movie is fun for you to watch, then keep watching it. If the movie becomes a burden for you to watch, then turn it off and go outside. That's been my recipe for success in all of this. When I like watching the movie, I watch it and I enjoy it. When the movie gets too much and I'm tired of waiting, then I turn it all off and I go outside. So do that. I highly recommend it.
Heal thyself.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sophie.
All right, guys. Well, I love y'all I love you both so much, truly. I mean, I can't even begin to express how grateful I am to have found you and to just it's perfect. It's so perfect. It's so perfect. And this community of just lovely souls, all of you in the chat, you guys are just fantastic. You know, couldn't pick a better group of people to be spending this amount of time with, and it doesn't even feel like, this is it.
3.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so just some quick announcements. We've got nothing tomorrow, so that's going to be hopefully a lovely respite for Charlie and Colleen and all of us to take some much needed uh, breathing time and relaxing time. And then Monday we've got Miraculous Monday with Marie. Don't miss it. That's a great way. That's a great stepping stone to start utilizing your throat chakra is to hop on the call with us on Miraculous Monday. Get involved, because you can come on and it's very open and we can just speak about whatever. And Marie is just such a beautiful host and so healing and all that she does. She's truly got a gift for that. So join us on that call. Um, and then uh, and then right after that call is over, we're doing our song decode of Michael Jackson. So that's going to be amazing, where we can
Magical show.
pay homage to this absolute angel and all that he's done and all that he's put
So
forward and his
that's right.
selfless
So
service.
yeah. So what does Michael Jackson have in common?
He's a
He
vampire
tied
hunter.
to Princess Diana, tied
Huge
to
vampire
John
hunter.
Kennedy Jr., tied to Donald Trump. He stayed with Donald Trump when things were worse. When everyone was doubting Michael Jackson, Donald Trump said, "No, I've never found anything. He's a great guy. Yeah, we really like him. He's just yeah, he's great."
I wonder who's playing Kamala Harris.
So, so it's Michael Jackson is a vampire hunter. Is- Totally is,
No doubt.
totally is, and he's
He just
strong,
and
very, very strong. Yeah,
he dances all over him.
and what I'll do is to foreshadow what's coming with the show on Monday with Michael Jackson. Just remember this: when stuff came out, in the court case, and remember, if they had anything on Michael, they would have locked him away for forever, but they didn't because they had nothing on Michael. And but people looked into this and go, yeah, but Michael's doing things that just, no normal person would. It's just not normal what he's doing. Whether things happen or not, it's just not. But this is what you're totally missing is that you're on the sidelines missing out on this world war that's been going on forever, and this is the war between God versus the devil, right versus wrong, life versus death, the children of Abel versus Cain. This is survival versus vampirism, vampires, and you're going, yeah, he's a bit of a kook and he's weird and this is really extreme. He's on the inside of this and he's going, they're just destroying our children, and I got to do something. And if nobody's going to do anything, then I'll build a sanctuary for these children to come and just be safe, and I'll protect them.
And who did he take in? He took in a lot of the celebrity children who have been abused.
Yeah. And so you're all just going, yeah, but Michael, you
But
crossed
not by
lines.
Michael.
You went too far, and you're weird and stuff. No, you have no idea how extreme this situation is. So his actions make perfect sense. You don't see that because you're not aware of what's going on. That's the problem with people who don't like or don't trust Michael Jackson is because he saw the pit of despair and did something to change it.
And he saw the demons for what they were.
And remember, he was Diana's best friend in the world, and when her entire world was collapsing and she was just surrounded by absolute monsters, he was staying up without sleep night after night after night to be able to be on the phone with her, and they were just best pals. I don't know if it's more than that or anything between them, have no idea, but there was a deep bond between them. And Michael Jackson had tons of stuff going on in his life, and he's staying up around the clock to be there for Diana when she needed a real friend. And that's Michael Jackson. That's Michael Jackson. And he's painted as a monster because he was hunting vampires. Don't kid yourself. All of these people, Mel Gibson, come on, look at his movies. Vampire hunter. And they don't like that. They don't like that at all.
Nope. Nope. And then, so yeah, that's going to be an amazing show. And then Tuesday at noon Central, hopefully Marie can join me. She's going to be traveling back. And then, so it's going to be me, Marie, Vegetable Police, and Remembrancer. And we're going to be having, there have been a lot of questions about food in this chat. So we'll have a lot more to get into on getting alkaline. Vegetable Police, Casey, I think he's on day like 16 or 17 of his juice feast. So he's going strong with it, and he's aiming for 90 days. So we're gonna get him on to ask a lot of questions from himself and maybe from the community as well. Great, yeah. Marie said she'll be there. Fantastic. Yeah, that's gonna be a great show. So we'll be able to dive into a lot of those kind of topics. So that should be wonderful. And then Wednesday, we've got our Bible Decode Revelation. We're continuing with chapter 5, and it's getting, it's been juicy so far, but Revelation just keeps going. It's going to be great. And then, yeah, and then Thursday, Everything Under the Sun with Marie and Charlie. And yeah, and I think that's it for upcoming shows.
Yeah, and just to let everyone know, Marie's Miraculous Mondays are always noon till 2 Central Standard Time, right? So then
Yes.
ours are on Monday. Dakota Michael will start at 2, which is noon Pacific Standard, 2 Central Standard, 3
Eastern.
Eastern Standard, 8 o'clock at night in the UK, 10 in South Africa. And then if that is 2 a.m. and 5, 7 a.m. in Australia, 9 a.m. Sydney, 7 a.m. in Sydney, Australia, and 9 a.m. in Wellington, New Zealand will be the times for the show on Monday now.
And what
So
time in Ireland?
that's
Eight.
UK time. That's what they call this UK time business. So.
Yeah.
So I just, thank you to Abraham Lincoln. Thank you to everyone who has done this. Our president and then it always felt right for me to call him the president of the world, which is I began doing with Trump, and it always felt right. And that's what he is. That's what he is, because he's fighting vampires, and this is life and death. This is life and death. And so, that's why Q has always said, it's fun for me to decode things and put things out there as possibilities. But what Q is saying, Charlie, try not to do that, because this is so big that if we have to back off of certain dates, we're going to back off. We're going to continue to back off, because this is survival versus death. This is the eradication of life, and then leaving our children to be the pods like Neo in the Matrix. That's what was coming. I kid you not. That's the end game to all of this. That's what it was. And we did it. We did it. We won. And remember, like Justin always does a great job reminding everyone, is that they think they've only lost the battle and not the war, and that they can still win. And we can't let that happen. So once again, when Justin and I and Colleen and I are hard on certain people, it's because we have zero tolerance for lies. Absolutely. And there's people who will say things like, Charlie, you said something about this one person and that they did a great job with this piece or that piece, but that person has put you down, and that person has said some bad things about you. I don't, whatever. Somebody suddenly is teaching the truth or saying the truth. That's great, and we're going to point it out and celebrate people that are teaching the truth. That's all that matters. And Abraham Lincoln, the Vampire Hunter movie, that's what Henry taught Abraham, is that real power is in truth, not in anger. It's in truth. That's real power.
T. Ruth.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for a fantastic show. Um, so yeah, that's a wrap for the evening.
Have a
Let's
wonderful, wonderful Saturday night.
yeah, go get some rest. I love you all dearly, and we'll talk to you next time.